Mr. Vampire, 1985. So here we are. Finally, I suppose most people would have thought this is what we'd start with, right? Because this is the big popularizer. This is the very reason that we're talking about this at all, that this series exists. I very much doubt if it would otherwise. Yeah, it's the one. It's the mega hit, which we'll talk about as we go on more, I suppose, the further we get into this, just quite how influential it was and where it was influential and what copied it and all the sequels and all that. So, Nick, had you seen Mr. Vampire before?
No.
Okay, so that's probably, I mean, do you want to maybe do the plot?
Sure, maybe. Let me grab my notebook here.
I mean, we don't have to belabor it, I think, because we're not really all about that. I mean, we are about belaboring things. There's no doubt.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
But it's I'm not sure if it's a massive you know, it is basically, well, it's what you'd expect, right? It's I mean, I think it's everything about this that's worth talking about. It's all the casting and stuff like that more than it is what the story's about, right?
Right.
Well, although actually, I would say that this is slightly unusual in the genre it became, the subgenre it became. But I'll don't want to steal Nick's thunder on that one.
No, I mean, for me, it was interesting just because it's there's certain things that show up in this for the first time, because I've been watching these with you in roughly, I guess, in the order that they were released, right? So we've seen, this is a different kind of hopping vampire than any that I've seen up until now. This one is a much, this one seems to borrow more from the Western vampire than anything we've seen up until this point, right? These ones have fangs and drink people's blood, which, you know, forgive me if I'm wrong, but we haven't seen that, right? In any of that we've seen up till now.
Yeah, well, the only one we haven't done as part of this series, because we talked about it before, was Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires, right? And I suppose they do, don't they? They have fangs and they drink.
Yeah.
So I think that's the one. Oddly enough, we probably should have done it really, because we talked about it before,
right?
And because Nick's definitely seen that before, so we didn't think to assign it to him as homework. So
no, actually, I have not. I have not before. Yes. Yeah. So I guess I will simply do it.
No, let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay.
Well, yeah. Let's you watch it anyway, and we'll stick it in here somewhere.
Okay. So just so that I know, there are Chinese hopping vampires in that film.
No,
there aren't.
But they're still Chinese. They're still Chinese vampires.
There's Chinese vampires who do the blood-sucking thing, but they're not hopping vampires with the.
But it's definitely an important part of the puzzle, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
And seeing as we're going to be it turns out we're probably going to be talking about quite a few films without hopping vampires and totally by accident. Yeah, we should probably flag that up now. That'll be happening every now and again, that we'll accidentally talk about things that shouldn't be here. But you know, all the fun of the fair.
It's a spooky month, isn't it? So
right.
I think we can, you know, if there's not a hopping vampire in it, there's going to be something spooky, and it's Halloween or October, so let it be spooky. Yeah. So what? Go on and tell us about Mr. Vampire then, Nick.
Well, I'm just gonna.
He's floundering. I think we forgot to write down what this plot was.
I haven't, like, so the problem was my notes go on pages and pages, but they're nearly as long as the film, right? So I don't actually necessarily often write in a pithy 3-line IMDb style, you know, description of what the plot is. So yeah, I'm probably not the best person for this job.
Well, I mean, I don't think we need to necessarily. It's basically it's because it is about Taoist undertakers, and it's about someone being re-interned, right, with the using the correct feng shui methods, but it all gets sabotaged, and therefore you end up with hopping vampires hopping about, and that's kind of it, really, right? I mean, it's basically the plot of all these films, really.
Yeah.
When we come across one that has something a bit more, I mean, for instance, when we talked about Den the Deadly, for example, which turns out to have not been a hopping vampire film, that had a sort of similar, but I would say Dead and the Deadly is a more plot-heavy film, right? Like the intricacies of that plot are important. I think Mr. Vampire, and I know this for a fact because I've watched Mr. Vampire in languages that I don't understand, and it still works. It doesn't really, I don't think it really matters if you know exactly what's going on. You can kind of pick, it's very easy to understand Mr. Vampire visually. Yeah.
Right.
You can, even if you're not hearing what they're saying, you can, oh, I see, they hold their breath and then he can't, you know, it's all on screen.
Right.
Yeah.
See. So yeah, so I suppose the most important things in terms of this as a kind of cultural phenomenon is we finally get Lam Ching-ying being cast as our one eyebrow priest.
Right.
And also, I suppose prior to this, the nearest he would have come to, because he's in a whole bunch of stuff, and plus he did choreography, and he was part of that group who went over to the United States when they did Slaughter in San Francisco, and he's in an Al Adamson film. He's in Dynamite Brothers, right? And and all those films they made around that time. So he's about, and he's one of Sam Moore's old friends who he brought into the industry and all that. And so, but prior to this, the nearest he would have come to being quite visible on screen would have been Prodigal Son, right?
Yeah.
That's like his big role before this, like a proper meaty role.
Yeah.
But this is the one. This is the one that propels him to stardom. This is why we know who Lam Ching-ying is, I would say. Is that fair?
Yeah. Well, if you're a kung fu head, you'd know if Mr. Vampire and possibly Encounter of the Spooky Kind didn't exist, you'd still know Lam Ching-ying from Prodigal Son, maybe Magnificent Butcher and a couple of other things. But yeah, generally, you think Lam Ching-ying, you think yellow robes.
Yeah. And he spent the rest of his career basically doing variations on this, really.
Yeah.
Until he died quite young of liver cancer, right? And you keep forgetting he died young because this was his main character. He always played old. In the same way that Max von Sydow, you know, played the Father Karras, right, when he was much younger. He is Father Karras, isn't he? He's not so he plays our you know, and again, pretty much knocks it out the park the first time. This is how he always plays it, right? He's a very stern, kind of commanding, no nonsense Taoist priest, and I suppose he is an undertaker.
Yeah, it feels like he's an undertaker, priest, Van Helsing, like all wrapped into one. And that's like, and in a way, this is a lot of the Undertakers seem to be this tripartite, job that they've got.
Digging graves seems to be the least
of
their duties, in fact.
Right.
Well, and that kind of explains, doesn't it, the trope, because more often than not in these films, the assistants, the Taoists' assistants, are the ones that fuck everything up so that there's a hopping vampire in the first place.
Yes. So always bumbling. There's never a competent assistant.
No, but maybe they're really fucking efficient at digging graves.
Right. But we just don't see that side of their work enough.
This is it.
Right.
Just saying.
In this case, the bumbling assistants are played by Ricky Hui, older brother of Michael and what's the other one? I forget his name.
Sam.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he would have been in his brother's films, and he was in John Woo's To Hell with the Devil before this, right? But again, this seems to be the film that kind of established him.
Yeah.
And the other one, the good-looking one,
Yeah.
Chin Siu Ho, right? Chin Ka Lok's older brother,
Yeah.
who he already was he'd already been in things like Legend of the Fox for Chan Che at Shaw, for example. And I was listening to, I don't know if you listened to so he's been cancelled now. So the new releases of Blu-rays of Mr. Vampire have commentaries by other people, right? But I thought it'd be interesting to go back and listen to the Bay Logan one. I don't know if you had a chance to listen to it.
I struggled with Bay Logan before he was cancelled, because I do find him to be quite an arrogant little shit, frankly.
Well,
But, you know,
I know what you mean. But then again, it's a slightly well-earned arrogance, because his commentaries are very good.
His commentaries, the commentaries I've heard of his,
because they're non-stop
get over
information, right? They're like,
no, I agree,
boom,
I agree.
But
you've got to get over the when I was talking to Samuel, because he's a really good friend of mine.
Right.
You know, yeah.
But he does, and he was pointing out something kind of quite interesting, actually, that how Chin Siu Ho was never really necessarily had that much opportunity to have a big action showcase just for himself. And he was pointing out that he probably should have been a bit bigger than he was, right? Because he's kind of, he's quite good looking, and clearly he has the chops and all that. But
I was going to ask about that. So that is him doing his own stunt work there.
Yeah.
Because it's really impressive. Like
he does the whole that running up and down the like that kind of, when you run up a wall and then jump, that's it. That's
because I was kind of watching. I was like, because something astonishing would happen, but then he turned back and so you could see his face on camera. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, a lot of it minus wire work as well, actually.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I agree, because I had the same thought. Was like, well, surely he should have been, based on the skill level I'm seeing here and his acting chops. He's likable. He's good looking. All of the stuff going for him. I'm surprised that he's not somebody who was more on my radar.
Yeah.
So they represent the bumbling contingent, but
you got good looking bumbler, and Ramon's haircut bumbler.
Yes, but who cares about those fuckers when you've got Moon Lee?
Debut feature.
Oh, okay.
Well, she'd been in things. She's in Jackie Chan's The Protector, right? But she's in the one cut long more than the other one.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So she'd been about, and she did.
But this is the first major. This is the first major.
Yeah. She's in Zoo as well, isn't she?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right there. Sorry. Yeah, I stand corrected. Yeah.
And it's interesting to see, because at this point as well, she hasn't. So after, like, a couple of years after this, she's in the Angel films, and then she finds her place, right? Because she's one of the battling babes, as they call them, or deadly talent. She's one of those, and she's fucking amazing at it.
Yeah.
And probably of all of them as well, the one who has the biggest kind of that fascinating gulf between, like, she looks so cute and vulnerable and feminine, and then just fucking kicks ass like no one's business. So she's always been, I think, my favorite of that.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree with you. Yeah.
Yes, and that's our basic little group. That's our that's our gang, and they're all likable in their own way. It's a nice little ensemble cast, right? And so back to you then, Nick. So
well, I mean, the thing is,
get more than anything else, I want to know what you made of this, because for me and Darren, I think it's a little bit difficult to. I mean, it's a great film. It's undoubtedly a great film, but I kind of knew that.
Right.
So how did this strike you? Because it could entirely be, I don't know, you might be being like, oh, this isn't it. I doubt it. I'm guessing it was crackerjack entertainment, but how did
It
you
was.
feel about
I think
this?
the only thing that maybe surprised me a little bit was that it was a bit more episodic than I might have expected for whatever. And but then all of these films kind of are in a way, you know, some more than others. But like the whole aside thing with Chin Soo Ho's like they kind of lift that whole chunk from like Chinese ghost story, right? Where this ghost girl is in a palanquin being taken through the forest. She floats off onto the back of his bicycle, and then like that.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because this is pre-Chinese Ghost Story, but it's interesting that they're already parodying that because she gets knocked off the bicycle, and they're already kind of making fun of that trope.
Right. But that was, you know, that was a bit more of the story than I maybe expected. And I was never.
This is Pauline Wong, right? Pauline Wong plays the beautiful ghost who tries to seduce.
Beautiful, except for when she's not.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's one subplot too many, really, but it's fine. It fits, I think.
Well, I think the thing is with that subplot is it would be, well, it is extraneous anyway. It is, you know, it's no use to the plot at all. However, I think you'd be forgiven with getting annoyed about it if the final confrontation between Lam Ching-ying, Chin Soo Ho, and Pauline Wong was not so fucking mental.
Right.
So, and you'd never want to cut that from the film, would you?
No. Yeah, no, I had lots of fun with this. And I'm always happy when I wasn't expecting it to be so heavy on the action, I think. I thought it would lean more, I thought it would lean more horror or it would lean more comedy. But it kind of, I think it does a really nice even balance of having all three. I think when it's funny, it's generally funny. That part where somebody wraps like someone's hair in one of those little yellow magic papers and then swallows it in order to take control of their body. That was awesome.
With them. So that's the other. We need to talk about Billy Lau.
Right. The old nephew.
But it's interesting as well because you haven't seen any of the sequels either, have you, Nick? I'm guessing.
No.
Yeah. So, enjoy not hating Billy Lau while you're cleaning is probably because it'll be interesting to see if I've changed my mind. But if memory serves, he gets so annoying in the sequels because he takes up more room in the film than he should. And like, it's interesting watching this one. I was pleasantly surprised that of course he's annoying in the film because he's supposed to be annoying, the character, but he's not. He doesn't overwhelm proceedings, so it's just the right amount of annoying asshole, right? Yeah. And I seem to remember that taking over in the sequels, like the third or the fourth one. He fairly intolerable.
He leans into that really, really hard.
Yeah.
But it's nicely balanced here, right?
I never got to the bottom of, and maybe I'm just dense or wasn't paying close enough attention, but to what the whole, like, why did the dad become a vampire? What was he vengeful about? There was some kind of land deal or something, but it was like really nebulous to me. And then comes back as a vampire and kills his own son, right? Relatively early in the film.
He seems to have somehow got bad intel on how he should have been interred in the first place, or something like that.
Right. Yeah, it's something to do with the plot, doesn't it? It's the plot that's like corrupted or something, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's facing the wrong way, and it should have been horizontal and not vertical, or it's all wrong anyway, isn't it? Because that's the establishing scene.
I felt like if he's a vengeful vampire, I felt like, well, who exactly? He's just pissed off. He's come back. He's very angry, like psychotically so. Actually, that's another thing that to me, these vampires are the vampires that show up here and then seem to show up after this. They're much more like enraged, like Night of the Living. They're not Night of the Living. What's the Return of the Living Dead kind of zombie, like screaming in like abject like anger and pain somehow. I was like, fuck. this guy's terrifying. Like when he's off the chain, you know.
We should mention this is Yen Hua, right? As
yeah.
big vampire as well, who did
unrecognizable.
Did the choreography with Lam Ching-ying. At the beginning there's a lot more of that you get in the other films. You do get like discussion about, and you kind of get to see what Lam Ching-ying's job is, right? Like why he's a consultant. It's quite interesting to see that.
There's a part where he's doing magic or whatever it is, a spell, and he just takes 1 grain of rice out of a pile on his finger. I thought it was very cool for some reason.
Well, one thing I like about this, and I'm gonna after we get Nick's full view of it, I want to talk about my changing view of Mr. Vampire.
Oh yeah.
What I like about this is there's a lot of vampire lore in it. So you get all the rules, don't you? You get all the establishing rules about what a vampire is, what it's weak to, you know. You get all. It's basically a top trump, isn't it? And it tells you all the weaknesses and strengths of the vampire.
I would play hopping vampire.
Vampire top trumps. So would I.
We need to arrange that, lads, for a final episode. Maybe we just play a game of hopping vampire. Actually, to your point about that, the other thing that was quite interesting about the Bale Organ commentary, because we've often talked about, well, what exactly are the rules, right? Because they seem to change a little bit in each film, and they do different things in each film. I mean, they usually involve chickens, but there's always some kind of weird, like, oh, that's this now and that, and something that Bale Organ points out in his commentary, which is kind of quite interesting, is he talks about how, because Taoism in general is so ancient and is also so regional as well, that you would have had these regional variations. So I'm still not 100%. I still think it's a mixture of that. I think it's a mixture of the regional variations and the filmmakers just making shit up as well. I think it's I think it's both things going on at the same time, right? But it was kind of interesting because I never really thought it. What I mean is Taoism seems to be slightly less concrete in terms of like having a catechism or something like that, or this is the way to do it, or it would depend on which part of the vast lands of China that you were growing up in.
Yeah. So, any other thoughts, Nick, on the old Mr. Vampire?
No, there was one moment that made me laugh out loud, just because it was like a tonal shift where the vampire's son is killed by his vampire dad, and then it kind of almost like smash cuts to like a parlor room, like it looks like a murder mystery play. Everyone's just kind of standing in this room, and he's dead on the floor, and Mr. Vampire gets accused because he's got long. He brings up that he's been killed with long fingernails, and they're like, well, your fingernails are long, and he's like, oh fuck, so they are. And then when that son becomes a vampire, his one is like in like Reanimator, like how the psychotic dad of Barbara Crampton's character, like he comes back, right, and he just spent the movie fucking screaming. And I was like, whoa, this is jarringly full on. That's a great performance. And I think it was awesome.
I think it's worth mentioning as well. I think this film does a really good job of laying its table, right? Like at the very first scene is this perfect mixture of, you've got the magic, horror, comedy, martial arts all set up in this, bit where Jin Soo-ho plays this gag on his brother, and all hell breaks loose. Or it's a really nice like setup. Oh, okay, this is what the film is, and it kind of never lets up from it. Just carries on, and it's always really well balanced. Like it never gets like, even when some of the comedy starts get like, he thinks Moonlee is a prostitute, like not fucking gut bustingly hilarious, and a bit shoehorned in there, some of those guys, but it's fleeting. It's been and gone, and Moonlee's there to look at, so that's fine. And then it's on to something else. It's like, it's a really like, it's one of those films that I can imagine, if it pops up on, it's one of those things, if it would pop up on television, you'd find yourself distracted watching it, and you'd watch it through to the end, wouldn't you? It's one of those.
Yeah. No, it's really well paced, and yeah, it's there's lots of lively moments and lots of variety throughout, isn't there?
Yeah.
I thought that was actually quite clever, that prank at the beginning, because the movie does pay it off near the end when Ricky has actually become a vampire, and then they have the same kind of struggle that they had at the beginning, but that was fake, but now it's real. I thought it was
yeah.
Well,
So I remember watching this in probably the early 90s on Channel 4. This was one of those films that they show, you know, one of the first Hong Kong films I ever saw, because they had it on late night on Channel 4. Did you see that, Clive? Did you see it at the same time?
No, because this was one of those ones. So what used to happen because we were in Wales and we had S4C, and I think it might have been even earlier than that. I think it might be late 80s. I think it was on. I think it was when it was still relatively new. And yeah, it was this and Spooky Kind and maybe something else they showed in like a mini series of. It might have been Deadly, actually.
Could have been, yeah. I don't remember seeing Dead and the Deadly, but yeah.
Yeah, but what happened sometimes with Channel 4 and S4C is pretty much we'd get everything that Channel 4 had on. Because I talked about this on another thing, but the fascinating thing about SOC is like one of those schizo channels, right? Because it's an affiliate of Channel 4, you would get the most extreme things that were allowed on British television on the one hand, but in the daytime, people sitting on hay bales watching fucking hee-haw style comic, like super fucking
like ultra rural redneck comedy, isn't it?
Yeah. Very provincial, and then all the older Welsh people would go to bed, and then you'd get, you know, stuff like this as well. But the only problem is they'd very rarely repeat things, though, because we didn't have the time for it. So sometimes there'd be something on the film would be on Channel 4, the film would be on S4C maybe a week later, but then when they repeated things, we didn't get it. And I remember missing out. I remember missing Mr. Vampire as we kind of being on, and you obviously called them.
Yeah.
And then the second time around, Channel 4 showed them again. I was getting ready. Oh, here we go. We'll get it in a week or two. And they never showed them. So I didn't see them until later on.
No, I didn't whatever the third one was, if it was Dead and the Deadly, I didn't watch that. But I did see Encounters of the Spooky Kind, and I did see Mr. Vampire.
It's funny, isn't it? It's one of those times as well. It's like one of those cultural touch. People remember. It's like, do you remember the time they showed Mr. Vampire on telly? Did you see Ghostwatch? Oddly enough, I didn't watch Ghostwatch when it was broadcast either.
Oh, I did. Yeah.
And the one I did,
and it did scare the shit out of me.
Yeah, I can imagine. And the other one, which I did catch, how about that time they accidentally showed Enter the Dragon with all the nunchuck stuff in?
I don't ever remember seeing that, but yeah. So I caught that, you know, and I would have been probably 13, 14 years old, and fucking great, loved it, and then kind of, you know, moved on to something else, as you do, or thought it was an island, you know, didn't think I didn't think that there'd be a whole world of Hong Kong cinema that's just as fucking mad as this. That I would love. Just moved on. And then years and years later, when I was in London, I remember probably renting the VHS from the video shop in London, and kind of, quite enjoyed it. It's all right. And then my memory, and that seemed to have tainted my memory of Mr. Vampire, because coming into this, I was all guns blazing, gonna shoot down Mr. Vampire. So it's overrated. Yeah, but it was kind of a tainted memory, to be honest, because I think I had seen it at a time when I was either super heavy into Just Shapes, or for the second time, you know, seen it, you know, or just seen it when I was heavily into just exploitation or gore or whatever. You know, it's just one of those times that it wasn't suitable viewing for me. But yeah, coming full circle. I mean, this is just a classic. It's I've got not a single word of complaint about it.
It's interesting that you say that as well, because that is the thing, is that, like you're saying, if you're maybe expecting one, it's easy to forget that this is kind of, it's kind of the Hong Kong variation on Amblin entertainment films of the 80s.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
kind of,
Yeah, I think
for everyone.
Yeah, we were talking, we sort of touched on that as well, didn't we? Kind of in one of the previous episodes of this that we've done is that this falls nicely into that kind of, you know, when there were kind of decent special effects, you know, industrial light and magic style special effects in Hong Kong.
Right.
Before the advent of CGI and after, you know, Star Wars, you know,
when
they were taking, you know, special effects seriously and they were trying to make films like, you know, films with, you know, the kind of, you know, the kind of appearance of your Star Wars and your Supermans and all that. And yeah, this fits solidly in the middle of that before the advent of very bad CGI Hong Kong films.
Yeah, well, yeah. So the thing about the you saying as well, like the context, and you just thinking of it of an island. I didn't quite. Obviously, I'd seen it, and by the time I got around to seeing it, we were more in. We knew there were the films like this, and we knew there were sequels and stuff like that. But what was interesting for me was first coming to Japan and Mr. Vampire coming on television here, and you know, because I didn't really have a clue about this. I remember just, I noticed it's in the listings. Oh, Mr. Vampire, and me saying, oh, Mr. Vampire's on telly, and my wife said, what's Mr. Vampire? Because she would know it as Mr. Vampire. She'd know it as Rogan Doshi. And then suddenly, oh yeah, she's like, oh yeah, Rogan Doshi. And then I realized, oh, this is just massive here as well, like as big as it could be anywhere, really. Like the impact of Mr. Vampire, and in fact, maybe especially, we'll get to this, maybe Mr. Vampire 2, maybe above it,
oh yeah,
like
yeah,
just like there's so much stuff that still gets released to this day, and it's, you know, it's basically sold on people's nostalgic memories of this. It's I would imagine even more so than in Hong Kong, maybe, or, you know, possibly Taiwan as well. It's just for some reason they just love the hopping vampires here. Yeah, so yes, no, I agreed. Stands up as an absolute classic. Just, yeah, something for everyone, family entertainment. So directed by Ricky Lau, only his third film as a director as well, right? After Crazy Couples and Two Toothless Tigers, leading some people to believe that Sammo was actually, you know, the power behind the throne. But apparently that's not the case. Apparently he has dispelled this theory, like he said it was Ricky Lau. Script by Boryong Zeto Chek-hon. So the source story as well. So I was trying to get to so obviously it's that stories of the Chinese studio and other folk tales and stuff. But I think specifically, maybe, I don't know in what capacity, whether it was a short story he wrote, or maybe he wrote like the story, you know, as a script idea. I think it's Wong Ying, right? Who Wong Ying was a fairly prolific author of ghost and kind of knight errant stories, who died surprisingly young. And so for instance, some of the films based on his novels, I think, include Bat Without Wings, Black Lizard, Roving Swordsman, Enchantress, Portrait in Crystal, maybe Kung Fu Zombie as well, actually, Web of Death, Murder of Murders, Bastard Sword. They all seem to be based on things that he wrote. And then he later went on to write some screenplays based on his own works as well. So, and interestingly, so we'll get to, well, after this, he's also the guy who writes the screenplay for New Mr. Vampire.
Okay.
And directs his own. He directs the first Vampire in China as well. So Wong Ying's an important name in all this as well. The one film we won't be getting to, unfortunately, so we can't say for sure if we know exactly if it is a remake or not, but there is a Taiwanese Mr. Vampire from 1990, which we've been trying to see forever, but we still haven't managed to uncover it. I would love to know if it's a remake or...
Give us Mr. Vampire Taiwan.
Yeah,
that's Wu Ko Ren as well, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah. So Mr. Ninja Hunter himself. So jumping at the bit to see that. I mean, even if it's the most rubbish film ever made, which I can't imagine it will be, it will be fascinating for us.
Yeah, we will watch a long play, wobbly visuals, unsubtitled Taiwanese Mr. Vampire from 1990.
Yeah. I'm surprised it hasn't popped up anywhere.
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming it's a real thing that exists. There's a Hong Kong movie database page for it and everything, but I've never heard of it.
No.
Popping up anywhere.
So Mr. Vampire, all the thumbs.
I was just going to say, there's a few things that I learned that were new to me because I haven't seen these films before, and there were things that, and so you can correct me again if I'm wrong about these things we haven't seen in the lore up until this point, but the kind of obsessive focus on purity of sticky rice, and then just rice generally being used as some sort of way to absorb negative spiritual energies or whatever, because it shows up again and again in some of these films that we're going to talk about. And then so then we have Wu Ma playing a sketchy rice salesman who is quite happy to adulterate his pure sticky rice with non-sticky rice, and that causes all kinds of trouble for our heroes. That was one, and then I don't know, there was something else, but it's gone. Maybe it'll come back. But yes, that was. So is that something that then it will be consistent throughout? Is rice going to come back time and time again?
Well, I think the trope is always, and it's usually Wuma, it seems to me, but it is the element of the thing, whether it's rice or eggs, or like in one it's chicken eggs or goose egg. Like someone has some cheapskate has sold them the wrong thing, and therefore it all falls down. Yeah, so that's
because I mean, because that's in Spooky Encounters as well, isn't it? That someone gets the wrong eggs and throws it at the vampire, and then
a ghost kind of GPS device, right? So it shows up in this one where
the compass,
compass, that you can kind of, and then in a later film we're going to see it has a little like temple on it and a little spinning Buddha with his hand out pointing the direction. Is that again a device we see? Like, I wonder, like, to what degree is Ghostbusters an influence on all of this? With the kind of the technology of the PKE meter, all that shit from like the first Ghostbusters film, right?
Oh, I'm sure it must have been part of.
Yeah,
it would have come out just the year before, right? So
it's 84, I think. Isn't it? Yeah. But there's not an obvious Ghostbusters no connection.
No,
it's just because of the time period. I think if it wasn't so close in time, you wouldn't necessarily think so, right? But that definitely would have been in the air, I would have thought.
Yeah, ghosts would have been in the air, and ghosts are Jiangshi as well. So it makes sense. It makes sense that Ghostbusters would have pushed this up the top of the kind of pitch pile for an executive.
Right. Yeah. And then Bloody Underpants as well. I mean, which we have already seen. Is that I mean, that must be real in as much as it must be something that was really believed. Because it can't just be from one film. I mean, I guess it can be, but it feels there's something about it all, about this idea of period-stained underpants when worn on the head, that seems somehow like, I'm like, that makes sense somehow.
Yeah, it's got to be a thing because we've seen it all over the fucking place, even before getting to all these vampire films.
Mm-hmm.
So and it's all about menstruation, isn't it? And I don't know, but we need to kind of get on and read a couple of original texts, I think.
Yeah,
which you said, Clive, you're ahead of the game on.
Well, not. I mean, the thing that comes up, one of the things that comes up is the Shadow Book of Eugene, right? Which or is it Jinyu,
Jinyu.
which I have been reading, and is actually a fantastic read. But to be honest, has very little in it, much more about Hopping Vampire. Because that's why I got the copy, and that's done and dusted in a few pages, and I didn't really learn more than I've picked up anywhere else. But still a fantastic. I would recommend the Shadow Book of Jinyu because it's full of just mad story. And what I like about it as well, it's just there you go. It's a very elliptic. It's just like, yeah, I heard this story, and then it's oh okay, and then another story, and it's just bum, 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 bum. And it took a little while for me to acclimatize to it. But then when you get used to what it is, it's just a yeah. Here you go, warts and all kind of collection of weird stories, and yeah, it's
the same. Well, it sounds like the same format as Strange Tales from the Chinese studio. Is that the right title?
Yeah, no, Strange Tales from Chinese studio, at least the version I read, they're crafted ghost stories. Like they're proper.
Yeah, but some of them are a page long.
Yeah, but they're always kind of, you know, they've been massaged into a tidy narrative. The Shadow Book of Jinyu is a lot more. It's more like almost like diary entries. It's like some of them are just. I heard this bloke said that another bloke fell off a donkey and then turned into a chicken. Funny, you know, stuff like that.
I'll tell you what he needs. He needs a journalist like Kolchak doing the ghostwriting.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
So yeah, so it's like that. It's more like that. But it's a fascinating read. I would highly recommend you. Actually, oddly enough, I was going to recommend another book, seeing as we were talking. While I'll do it now because I got it here. This is another one, The Corpse Walker: Real Life Stories China from Bottom Up by Liao Yu. This is another one I bought because I thought it would have stuff about hopping vampires in. It does have a fascinating chapter about a corpse walker. And yeah, truth stranger than fiction, actually, in terms of I highly recommend this book. But again, hopping vampire stuff aside, just in general, this book is fucking amazing. I'm like halfway through it. And like it says, real life stories China from the bottom up. So this guy, Liao Yu, who yeah, of course, did end up doing prison time. It basically just goes round, I think it's mostly in Sichuan province down in the south, just interviews people from different walks of life, but kind of quite, you know, so for instance, you've got things like the professional mourner, the human trafficker, the public restroom manager, the corpse walkers, and it's all you know, it's all during Maoist time period as well. And honestly, you read this book and you're like, fuck, China's a different planet, man. It's just, the stories in this book are just unreal. I would highly recommend everyone read this book. Anyway,
I'm actually just putting it into Amazon now.
It is an astonishing read. I've never read anything quite like it. I'm really enjoying it. But yeah, I wanted to point out as well just how fucking busy a year Sammo Hung this was for Sammo Hung, right? 85. He does this while directing Twinkle Twinkle Like Star, Heart of Dragon, Millionaire's Express,
which was a fucker to direct as well.
Oh god, yeah. While also producing things, what does he do? He does Mr. Boo Meets Pom Pom, The Island, It's a Drink, It's a Bomb. I mean, all these things, all in 85. And what was interesting, all the other people, the guy who seems to be around for the ride, who seems to be involved in all these projects, is Yunhua. Yunhwa's in almost all of those films. It's kind of interesting to consider him, you know, along with Sammo for this 85. I bet Sammo doesn't remember 1985. It must just be a blur, right?
Yeah. Well, no, I think he remembers Millionaire's Express because
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was because he's in the fucking desert and the snow for fucking months and months and months with what seems like the whole of the fucking Hong Kong film industry.
yes, yeah. This
Yeah.
is true.
Yeah.
Um.
Anyway, we digress. We
Yes,
digress.
Mr. Vampire took up an inordinate amount of time, but it should, right?
Yes.
It should. Yeah. Dead Curse. 85. Hong Kong.
Mhm.
Category 3. Not the hopping vampire film.
No. I realized that about 40 minutes in, and I was like, I don't see how they're going to shoehorn them in. And they didn't.
No.
There was not one to be seen.
No.
But why, Clive? Because then I looked up a bunch of plot synopses online to see if I was missing something, and not one of them mentioned anything about hopping vampires at all either. So I started to wonder, why did Clive append this to our list of JYANGSHI?
There's not even a hopping wheelchair in it.
No.
No.
The haunted wheelchair only swivels about a little bit.
Yes. Yeah. Bit of a. I'm getting someone watched The Changeling, didn't they?
Exactly.
Is what happened.
Yeah.
No, the reason actually it's these Japanese. They tricked me in this one. As we talked about before, huge hit here and lots of things retitled. So the Japanese release, the DVD release of this is something like
Django Goes Ghost.
No, it's Kyonshi Amazones, as in like Amazon women or something like that. And one of the things I did before putting together this was I ran a search for Kyonshi to see what, and so this is one time I've been tricked. This will become a running. I'm warning you now. Every show will probably have at least one non-hopping vampire. So get used to it. I don't want to hear any whinging.
Yeah. It's as I said in the last one, we're just gonna it's just gonna be a spooky. It's gonna be a spooky October with lots of JYANGSHI.
Yeah. I have to say I do wish that this was a better film.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fair to say.
Because I'm fine with watching a non-hopping vampire film if it's a good film, but this is not a great piece of cinema.
No, it does have its moments, though.
Yeah,
I like the end. The ending.
Yes, I like the ending too. I like the ending too because I like
it when I
what is happening at the end. But we'll talk about that when we get to it.
My favorite bit, the bit of this film which set me up to think, oh, hang on, this is going to be cool, is actually the it's not the very opening, but it's like it starts off with this biker gang, right?
You mean that just everything? There's a bunch of shit on fire in the streets for some reason, and then a bunch of guys who look like
that makes sense because it's Ghost Month, right?
Right. Okay.
Yeah, because that's banknotes and stuff.
July is.
If you've ever been to Hong Kong, and I'm guessing China as well, that's actually not that over the top. People, you will see people just lighting shit on fire in the streets, whatever it may be. That's not that unusual. But yeah, this biker gang, and there's a scene which is actually really well done. There's a scene with this biker gang driving off into the woods, getting seduced by some naked nymphets. Run off into the mists, and the biker gang follows them into the mist, and then there's just like noises,
and that's where
pale guys coming out carrying coffins. That seems fucking
I agree,
and that's where all the fucking budget went.
Yes, I think you're quite right.
There was none left for the rest of the film. They had a green filter and some fucking ropey-assed fucking leopard costumes, and that's it.
We should also say, I think they might have made out of the leopard skin leggings that the woman who gets run over in that.
I think so too, yes.
There's something wrong with the sound with the version we watched as well.
What's going on there? Where so her mad laugh, so our lead villain, right, is this tribal witch. Where is that even supposed to be taking place? Is that just supposed to be?
It looked like it was supposed to be like Indonesia or something, didn't it? because there's that kind of Indian thing going on as well, isn't there, with Carly?
You mean
Yeah.
Carla?
Carla.
Yeah, they were big fans of Cheers.
Yeah. Yes, they were. If you look in the background, there's a diminutive woman with curly hair that they're all worshipping.
Yeah.
And then at the end, it gets increasingly bizarre because then you also have our head priest, who only really comes into the film in the last 10 minutes, it feels like, calling out to Devo regularly.
Yeah, so this is so it opens with there's basically a witch as played by Maria Yen from Lethal Panther, Deadly China Dolls, right?
Yeah, her entire performance is just that's it. It's a spectacular one-note performance.
You did actually have a better performance than her on here than in that.
I'm casting Nick as the witch in my non-hopping vampire.
Yeah.
And this ritual that's going on, it gets disturbed by a policeman. So she, before getting shot in a shootout, she puts out the curse on him, and it does turn out within a few years he has some kind of accident, leaves him widowed, and he's in a wheelchair, and he's got a little girl to look after, and his sister, who's our star, who's Kiki Shung, who I didn't know, but apparently she's quite big on TV, right? Is Kiki Shung. So she's
nice, liked her.
Yeah, she's our heroine, and she's like a photojournalist, and she goes out with a cop as played by Pun Chun Wai, right? And Pun Chun Wai and her, there's a series of, they figure out, hang on, there's something going on, and then there's the witch, and then there's a couple of little ghost kids, Mr. and Mrs. E.T. Mr. and Miss E.T., right? And they kind of try and basically kill the little girl, right?
That bit was not bad. I enjoyed that.
Are fun. Like when they lure her out and try to make her fall into a pond, and then they come up and suddenly she's on a chair with a noose. You're like, fuck, that's quite dark.
Yeah, and also they like pay, and they, like this dude has seen E.T. and has decided, I've got to put some E.T. multiple references to E.T. in this film, because they pay off the whole glowing finger thing as well, didn't they?
Visual references from the E.T. and the Changeling, and probably others as well, if you're paying attention.
So musical cues from Mad Max are always a popular choice for some reason.
Good.
So many of these Hong Kongs, and not just one of. So out of the 4 films you watched this week, 2 of them feature stings from that soundtrack. I don't know why.
What was the other one?
We'll get to it when we get to it. It'll be in my notes as I read.
Oh, okay, good. Because I'm not good at spotting that stuff. I'm not. So yeah.
Also, a big fuck off Pink Panther stuffed teddy bear thing features.
Yes, they make off with a Pink Panther. I think I used to have one of those.
I think I might.
I was a big Pink Panther fan when I was a kid. Yes.
Oh, the most risible stalking scene I have ever seen in a horror film, where a woman is menaced by an empty Sprite can, which rolls down a set of steps after her endlessly. I was like,
I was hardly expecting that to go into Golden Child territory, and it was going to dance or something. But
no, they spent the budget on the intro.
Yes,
right.
Also, I mean, so the other bit that's I don't know if it's good, or again, I've mentioned this before, it's just that I'm a sucker for that. So there's that big scene, and then finally when there's an exorcism in a junkyard with exploding coffins.
You can't, no one can dislike that. Right?
Yeah, I agree. As soon as they cut to an abandoned like bus parking lot or wherever that is at the end, I was like, oh yeah, this looks good. And then there's an altar built there, you know.
Yeah, there's like a guy doing because they integrate martial arts into it.
Oh yeah, well, there's the 5 elements. Right? It's the 5 elements ninja ghost.
It's like a shaman, or I don't know exactly what he is, but
choreography by Cliff Lock.
Cliff Lock, yeah. Which I have
not doing his best work. There,
no, I was a little disappointed when I saw that because I thought, oh, here we go. But to be fair, he doesn't have that much. And I suppose if he's in charge of all the action choreography, I suppose some of the bike stunt work is quite impressive. Like driving over cars and stuff, right? In that first scene. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I was expecting a bit more, and he's not in it. I was expecting him to pop up as well, but there was no Cliff to be seen, unfortunately. He was busy breaking a man's finger with his stomach, right? The thing he can do, according to the Hong Kong Movie Database trivia.
Yeah. But I mean, so the majority of this film is pretty lame, badly executed, ghost shit in a Hong Kong apartment.
Shoddy.
Yeah, it's shoddy. It's not very well executed. I don't recommend people watch it just for the start and the end.
Although that start is good.
The start is good, and the end
is good too.
Yeah, because it's just by the end the film's worked out what it is, right? Because throughout the whole film, it's just a lame ghost story with not a good enough director and not enough money, right? But by the end they've realized, fuck it, we just need some fucking fantasy action kung fu shit going on. And lo and behold, it occurs.
Quan Hoi San as well as the Taoist priest, right? So that's fun to see. I mean, that's about it, really. And from producer Lui Mung's, what's his production company called? Liu International or something. But it was interesting. I never thought of them before, but they've been knocking stuff out since the 70s through to the 90s. Fairly productive little independent that I'd never really paid attention to for kung fu films. But I think we're about done on Dead Curse, are we?
Yeah, I mean, I want to just highlight, because I've said, the end gets batshit and there's some kung fu shit and there's some element shit, but the end, although it's not very well realized, is mental.
Yes. What happens here? Our priest shaman guy spits blood onto a grave.
Well, this
my notes say Taoist spits cartoon blood, corpse comes out of the earth, witch explodes.
Yes.
Shoots up like a missile into her body as she's flying towards the priest and intersect or whatever, it explodes.
Doesn't matter what's going on. It looks cool. And again, to our point, someone was either making shit up or in their particular corner of China that they grew up in, this was the folklore.
In that particular mental asylum where they were born and brought up. That was the law.
The black magic consultant Lu Pi Chung grew up in was they had.
I have to say that little girl was pretty game, like for putting up with a lot of mad shit. There's like it's like when she first shows up in the Taoist priest place, he's like, "Out of here, devil child!" and hucks something at her, hits her in the stomach, she falls over on the floor, and then when whatever his name is, the cop boyfriend, right? Because he gets seduced at one point on the set of very cheaply appointed, shitty 80s like music video, basically.
That's one of the bits where they seem to remember, we're supposed to be a category 3 film as well, right? So
one of the 2 scenes,
there's not nearly enough tits or gore in this for a cat 3.
No. But then he goes ape shit and he's attacking them both, and the kid seems quite frightened. You're like, how well prepped was she for what was, or were they just like, no, just scare the shit out of the girl and then it'll look great on camera? So she looks like she's actually panicking when he's
rich tradition of child abuse in
no one wants don't be a child actor in the 60s 70s 80s in Hong Kong.
No, what's the one where that little girl gets held out of the window of a moving car by the hair?
Lethal Termination.
That scene is insane. Anyway,
it's fine. It's a harness disguised as a
right.
You know it's not. You know it's some girl just getting
held by the head, by the scalp.
Yeah, and then given $50. Go on, fuck off.
Character building.
Yes. So yeah, that I have nothing more to say on this.
Yeah, but don't come to this film for hopping vampire action. You will be sorely disappointed.
Right. So it's not your grandfather's Mr. Vampire. It's new Mr. Vampire.
Oh, hang on, I got the wrong notes up. Yeah.
Although, unfortunately, I think your grandfather's Mr. Vampire was probably a lot better. But
I feel like that might be the case.
Yeah, so in 1986, some people managed to sneak out a rogue, unofficial, it's the Never Say Never Again Mr. Vampire film, right?
Yeah.
Mr. Vampire and Mr. Vampire 2. Which does have some Mr. Vampire alumni though. So for a start, the script is by Wong Ying. You got Chin Siu Ho from Mr. Vampire is back. Right. And Pauline Wong is back as well.
Yeah. But also you've got Chong Fat, who's the Taoist in Encounters of the Spooky Kind. So that's also vampire alumni, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. So
and not enough Ku Feng.
No, barely in it, Ku Feng, in fact.
Yeah.
He's threatening at the beginning, and then I don't think you see him again at all, do you? Or not?
No. Well, no.
No, I don't think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So the story here is that so Chung Fat and his bumbling. Well, no. In this one, Ching Siu Ho is a grave robber, right? And he's properly getting down and into coffins and pulling people's teeth out. And
sometimes rubbing his mouth across the faces of the dead.
Yeah, so that's how he gets. So Pauline Wong, as a recently deceased woman, he's crawling around, frottaging against her corpse. So he's a bit of a necro boy as well.
Yep.
Would have thought good-looking, clean-cut Chin Siu Ho.
Yeah, it's also an unofficial remake of Necromantic.
Yes.
Yes.
Definitely some Jorg vibe.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Billy Butgeret.
Right. And so New Mr. Vampire, as directed by Billy Butgeret. Yeah. Debut actually from a Kung Fu regular, familiar face. His first film as director. He would go on to do Brotherhood, right, with Chow Yun-fat after this. Also mentioning produced by William Chung Kay of Calamity of Snakes fame.
Yeah. One to watch.
Yes. So so he ends up somehow something happens. So Pauline,
he gets chased around by a coffin, right? I think at the beginning.
That's the beginning, yeah. But
and then he ends up running, but because he runs to the home of. So here's the lesson I learned from this: if you have a business that deals with kind of exorcisms and general ghost busting, don't open up your business directly across from another business that also does ghost busting and funerary stuff.
So we get to that. What I want to establish first is, so there's one thread is that he gets connected somehow because he's been rubbing his dead body against it. When she comes back to life,
she gets hit by lightning, so it's static cling.
So he's like a puppet, right? He's like a puppet. So whatever he does, she mirrors.
Yes.
Right? So that's that thing. And then that his dilemma puts him in the way. He gets mixed up with our other characters as Chung Fat as this Taoist undertaker, with Louis Fong, who I wasn't familiar with, but he's a singer apparently. He's famous for being a singer. And he later turns up in Mr. Vampire 3. He crosses over into the legit series. So he's his assistant. However, across the way is his brother, as played by Shemp Howard. Sorry, I mean Chin Yet San, who's also did the choreography with King Lee, who's in it as well somewhere. So Shemp is is the bad Taoist undertaker who's always trying to fuck up his brother's shit. In which
it's never the twain, basically.
yes, exactly.
More or less.
It is. It's very much. It's never the Twain Taoist version.
Yeah,
that's good reference. Yeah,
with Shem Howard.
Yes,
and I've got to say, Jin Yet-sang is doing a fucking good job of being a little shit in this.
He takes inordinate joy in his bad behavior.
Yeah. So Fat and Co have been given they've been threatened actually with looking after the body of this dead gangster, I'm guessing, as played by Huang Ha, bullied into it.
Brother of Kufang.
Yeah. Right. And so they've got to look after this. And then Shemp is insistent on sabotaging it by, shaving off his mustache so moonlight gets to him or something like that. Again, new stuff to the law, new stuff that someone made up.
And he does a lot of feeding the vampire his own blood or other kind of like snake blood and stuff to try to put it into a friend.
So we've got Pauline Wong ghost imitating Chin Soo Hun, and you've got and you've got the hopping back. And to be honest, this gets off to a rollicking start. That whole coffin chasing Chin Soo Hun.
Brilliant.
Really good. I'm thinking, wow, okay, because I'd never seen New Mr. Vampire before.
No,
I
hadn't seen it. No.
And I was thinking, here we go, brilliant. And then we meet Shum Wai. And I'm not blaming Shum Wai for this. I'm just identifying this for viewers so they'll know when to turn the film off. When Shum Wai turns up as, they refer to him in the subtitles as a lord, a drunken lord, right? But according to the Hong Kong movie database, he's a field marshal, right? So
so he's like a general, isn't he? So
he's basically he's Fernando Sancho of this world.
Yes.
He's like a military guy, or like Zorro in Django Kill or something. He should have a parrot on his shoulder. But basically he's pissed off, or mourning, I suppose, in a way, because it turns out Pauline Wong was his girl and she ended up, I don't know, did she kill herself?
She popped herself,
Killed herself,
because she's going out with him because he's a bit of a right. And then, unfortunately, the film then just grinds to a halt, doesn't it? It's just
a lot of shitty comedy, basically, right?
I mean, I have a lot of tolerance for this, but it never recovers. It never, like towards the back end of the film, they try putting in it starts with Huang Ha, who's a good vampire. They try and bring the action back. They try and inject a bit of, but it's way too late. And unfortunately, does die a death halfway through.
Yeah. Well, see, I enjoyed the Pauline Wong, Chin Soo Ho stuff. I actually enjoyed. I got behind that. But it's and I also enjoyed the Chin Yet-san being devious and feeding blood to the vampire.
Yeah, that's all good.
That's all, that was really good stuff. But there's a lot of fucking nonsense around fucking Taibo taking his trousers off.
Oh
and the general and
Umar turns up as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a hotel. Yeah, and it's pretty much just set in this hotel, isn't it?
It also becomes Weekend at Bernie's at certain points where they're suddenly trying to struggle dead vampire guy into like lifts and stuff.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Because Wumar, he's again, according to the Hong Kong movie, he's the innkeeper, but that seems like quite a modern hotel suddenly in the middle of
that's
the 30s or something, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a swanky hotel.
Yeah, in the middle of fucking nowhere, rural place. It's like that. It's like that place we were talking about, Nick. For some reason, in the devastated wastelands of Violence Jack, there's a star restaurant. Like, who the fuck there?
Where they're serving like $50 cubes of beet and lavender air.
It's just there because they wanted it in the film, and
exactly.
No logic, and that's fine. That's the least of those problems. But it's something about this whole Shum Wai thing. I don't know what it is. It just sucks all the oxygen out the room. It should have been a small subplot, but it starts to all revolve around it. And it's just it never It never
I mean,
recovers, sadly.
the plus points, I would say unfortunately, I didn't write his name down for some reason, but the whoever the vampire is,
That's Wang Ha.
Wang Ha,
Yeah.
has got because I think because of the script, he becomes menacing later on and some of the makeup and stuff. But not at any point did I feel that this was some sort of threatening, powerful vampire that could tear you apart. You know, he's doing his best job with it.
He does rake somebody's ass cheeks quite seriously near the end of the film. That scene, for some reason, I got an actual laugh out loud for me. I don't know why. The poor guy scrambling away with his pants in tatters. And also maybe because they decided like that's one of the few seconds to put into the end reel again. They were like, I know you just saw this, but fuck, you're gonna want to see that again.
It's still a bum, right?
One of the few good bits, basically.
Yeah.
No, he's no Yang Hua, is he?
No, exactly. So yeah, and I think the other thing is, well, there's two other things I've got to say really. First of all, is Chin Soo-ho is doing a very good job of the stunts at the end as well, because there's this kind of whole kind of staircase thing where he's swinging off this kind of ceiling fan, and really well done.
Yeah, again, a better film, it would pop, right? But it doesn't.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Gentle, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it does have to be said that there's some mention in the middle of the film about the general's special gun, right? Which you assume, you know, not having seen it before, you know, when I was thinking about the general's special gun, I was thinking it'd be a Tommy gun or like a Gatling gun or something. No, it's not a Gatling gun. It's a fucking cannon, which they use at the end to blow up the vampire.
Yeah, what I liked most about that was just the way the vampire stops for a moment and goes, "Oh fuck!" As though like he's like, "Oh, I fucked around and I found out." They just blow him to like atoms.
Yeah.
And that was.
But yeah, I mean, generally for me, I think I agree with probably the both of you that it's a bit too silly in a bad way.
Yeah,
you know, there's a bit too much lame comedy, and frankly, not enough action. Because I think we're learning that these things need to be punctuated with nice Hong Kong action or stunts or some mental fantasy elements.
Yeah,
you know?
Right. Or gore or boobs. You know, you need.
Yeah.
I think, I suppose if you're going to try and be maybe find something I say, but I think it's now that we're living in this time where we can do 2 years worth of 31 popping vampire films, give or take a few. I suppose it's very easy to discuss, but maybe in 1986, where you've only got Mr. Vampire out and Mr. Vampire 2 isn't out yet, I can see why they tried to plug a hole, you know, in that cultural gap, and maybe people would have gone, well, this is nowhere near as good as Mr. Vampire, but you know, I'm hungry for some more Jiangshi action, so this will kind of do for now, right? And then again, we'll get to this when we get to it, but if I'm remembering right, and I might be remembering wrong, and I might have changed my mind, but I seem to remember Mr. Vampire 2 being a massive step down from Mr. Vampire as well. So
I've got the same memory of that. Yeah.
So we'll see if that's up or not. Yeah.
But I think without going too far ahead, on our next episode, so you know, tomorrow or the next day, you know, when you get this,
well, no, it's going to be weekly, isn't it? We decided.
Whatever.
Bunch together a few. Like
that's right. Sorry.
Yes.
Well, whenever the hell you see it,
Yes.
Whenever the hell you see one of the next ones, I think this is true of one of the Yuen Wu Ping, the Yuen Wu Ping joint that we're going to review shortly.
Yes.
Is there's a hell of a lot of talent in this film, right? In New Mr. Vampire, you've got half of a fucking Peking opera school in there, and if you weren't in that Peking opera school, you're in the other Peking opera school. you've got good production values, and good scriptwriter, you know, the OG scriptwriter.
Yeah.
And yet, you know, it's just not there.
Yeah.
You know, and from the promise of that opening scene, especially.
Yeah.
You know, it just kind of, it's just this fucking hotel business.
I'm wondering if it was because it was rushed into production, maybe, that they were always struggling to kind of keep up and make their days, and then
yeah.
Anyway, there we go. That's the new Mr. Vampire. Next up, Richard Dreyfuss makes a Jiangshi out of mashed potato in The Close Encounter of the Vampire. Also,
oh no, I get it.
What does this title have to do with what happens in this film?
I just got it. That's fine. Give it a minute.
No, I mean, yes, I mean,
well, I think the thing about this, I think the most disappointing thing about this, because I'd never seen this before either, was I was like, oh, cool.
Young Clan.
Ping film, yeah, and Young Clan that I haven't seen. This is going to be a treat. No, not really. I mean, we'll get individual little bits and pieces here.
No, there's some nuggets.
Yeah, this is surprisingly, surprisingly.
Well, so did you see this? There's a review by somebody called Majestic Platt, spelled with TTE, on Letterboxd that says a Yuen Ping movie without a notable fight scene is like some kind of dog shit koan, which then forced me to look at what Koan. Do you guys know what that is?
No.
Koan.
A-N, yeah. I thought maybe he like misspelled cone, like dog shit ice cream cone, you know. But it is in fact a paradoxical anecdote or riddle used in Zen Buddhism to demonstrate the inadequacy of logical reasoning and to provoke enlightenment. Well,
isn't that a well-read reviewer?
Yeah.
yes. Impressive.
Aren't they an intellectual?
But you'd know more about the truth of that than I would. Is this a paradoxical thing to have a film made by this person to have no notable fight scene in it?
Pretty much. Although there is one very, very positive and also tragic element to this film.
Okay.
And that is Chris Yenshi Ching.
Yes.
Who's the teenage student.
Donnie Yen's sister, right?
Donnie Yen's sister.
Okay.
And she fucking lights up the screen.
She
with
is
her
very
kung
good.
fu.
Yeah.
Great. Amazing.
She's the one thing. And her skills they seem to be very impressive. Like when she does fight.
Yeah. I mean, all the kids are good. All the kids are good.
That's true.
She's not like much of anything as well, really.
Well, it's this and one other, I think, isn't it? It's this and one other film.
Yeah, over the IMDb, she's in some non-Hong Kong films as well. She's in that Mulcahy film, Give 'Em Hell, Malone. She's in that, and she's in other bits and pieces. But yeah, it doesn't seem to be her. She's like something else. So she's like, is she a fashion designer or something?
Yeah.
And she has some credits on. Like, she seems to be an assistant to her brother on some films.
Okay.
I think she had a credit for something on Shanghai Nights or something like that.
Okay.
So Cinema doesn't seem to be her love.
No,
right?
but what could have been?
Yeah, I'd never heard of her. I didn't know Donnie Yen's sister.
Same here. Yeah, but what I mean, as a debut, and I think that is the first thing she was in.
Yeah.
As a debut, I mean, she's clearly kind of 15 or 16 or something,
Right.
Fucking hell, what, I mean, probably on a par with her brother, if not a bit better, frankly.
Well, interesting as well. So this, in the Yuen Ping directorial canon, at least, this comes between Mismatched Couples and Tiger Cage, right? Which are Donnie vehicles, right?
Yeah. I do like Mismatched Couples.
Of course, it has the finest disco dancing known to man.
It does, and especially when you take into account, Donnie Yen's body popping in Drunken Tai Chi.
Yeah, yeah. No, Mismatched Couples is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So what's going on here then? Oh yeah, so it's a theatrical troupe, isn't it? As
Yeah.
led by Yen Ching Yan.
Some sort of Chinese opera Little Rascals seems to be what's going on here.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yes, so Yen Ching Yan is a beloved child abuser.
Yes. Yeah.
And,
go on.
So yeah, so that's going on. And then Lung Kai-yan Beardy himself enters town as a rather clumsy kind of Van Helsing type hopping vampire.
Yeah, Beardy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah.
The well-known Joss Whedon film from the night.
I like that. That was good. That was good. Nick Gold, that was.
And he's got his bow and arrow, and he comes into town and he treads on the local Taoist, Yenshin Yi. It's quite nice to see. Again, another thing that's a shame is it's not just as a Yang Clan film, it's the fact that the Yen brothers have major roles. I quite like oh, it's nice to see them rather than just in little bits. And that makes
I'll pay good money to watch Yenshin Yi in an armchair just looking a bit mean.
Right. And you've been
for an hour and a half.
Yen Yat Cho as well plays the dick stage man guy, right?
Yeah.
So and then to be honest, I forget what happened with the why.
Well, it's all about the kid. It's all about the kid thing,
vampire kid. Yeah.
Who just talks like.
Like, oh, Darren, have you been? That was uncanny. I thought you might have been. So this is the thing as well with this one is because I was wondering about this because these all come out around the same time, and you're wondering, release dates. Sometimes we have release dates for these. Sometimes we don't, like specific ones. I mean, so we have to guess, and then you don't know what was delayed, and you don't know, because all it's very incestuous little industry, and people know what other people are doing, and so you do so. This has an awful lot of this kid component, which is the thing that catapulted the success of the film in Japan and Taiwan. Has a lot in common with Hello Dracula, which we haven't got to yet, but we'll get to, and the second official Mr. Vampire. This feels very much like those films because it has the child element. Because the thing that's confusing about it is that stuff is so obviously like childish. Like, it's not just, oh look, there's some cute kids. It's clearly supposed to. It's aimed at children to a certain extent.
Yeah, this is a children's film. Yeah, for sure.
But then some of the stuff and this has got a good main vampire in Ma Ching-ku, is a proper scary fucking and some of the scenes with him in are really atmospheric, like the smoke coming out of him and the little and all that stuff.
And like the rats crawling all over him in the at the start and stuff. That's really good.
Too scary for a kids' film.
I mean, it's Hong Kong,
but
it's Hong Kong.
But you know what I mean? Even for you're thinking, it's such a shame because it feels so compromised because I'd imagine it would be too scary for kids for it to actually work as a kids' film. In fact, oddly enough, the Mr. Vampire would work, even though it's not aiming at children because it's got that Blin kind of thing. But then the kids, like, it's too childish for anyone else. In fact, I think it's too childish for children, even.
I mean, I see the attraction. It's like it reminds me of that that school film that was on BBC in the 80s that was really terrifying because there was two aliens that came down.
Right.
Boy
from space. So that
the boy from space. That's it. Yeah. And the whole drama revolves around the local school kids who are a bit delinquent, adopting the silver alien kid into their ranks, and then shenanigans happen.
You just opened up some little door in the back of my brain. I completely forgotten about this.
No, I remember that scaring the shit out of me.
I was fucking terrified by that.
There's that white-haired man
That's it.
chasing them through
Yeah.
a quarry. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, that's the one.
But the
Yeah.
thing is, I think with that though, in retrospect, I'm wondering if that would actually be that creepy, or if it was just the right kind of creep for children. I think
Mhm.
it's actually quite creepy. Like if it was a better film, it would actually be, you know, proper scare. Because
Yeah.
Kinku makes a good.
The elements, yeah, the elements are there. You know,
Yeah.
all the elements are there. It's just that there's this whole midsection. Well, not even the midsection. The whole fucking film
Yeah.
is just about the kids doing nonsense.
Yeah.
You know, it's just
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
the kids doing kid nonsense.
Knockabout Bash Street Kids stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say that right at the beginning, there's a scene that I was super excited about when two of the little rascals, like Stingy and Impish, are in their names. Although later on they seem to have other names. They're like Lucky Child number 1 and 2 and stuff. But anyway, they're having their fisticuffs, and one of them slips and falls on. It appears to fall into a knife, right? And I'm like, holy!
Oh yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
oh my god, what? And I got really excited that was real. And then, of course, it's exposed to have, you know, it's a bit of a gag with he's got a bunch of tomatoes in his shirt, right? But I was, for just a split second, I was like, oh, this film has gone somewhere very exciting very quickly.
Yeah.
There's the headline: School teacher gets hard on when he sees violence against children in the film.
Well, you know what? You like to see consequences for actions, right? And all through this film, I was thinking these kids are constantly a hair away from doing a serious injury to one another. So it was nice to see it pay off.
Wow, once again, school teacher claims they had it coming.
Kids will not learn without
violence.
Well, this is clearly what the troop master believes, right? Because he apparently spends a lot of time beating on the kids.
Those kids are suffering from Stockholm syndrome, something serious.
Yeah, they get fucking regularly wailed on.
Yeah, they are proper victims of abuse.
There's also a scene that took my breath away where it's when he comes back and they're trying to convince him that, like, oh, he broke his pipe and you know, like, when you came back last night and you're drunken, and then the girl's like, yeah, and then he goes, ooh, wait, what? What's that?
Yeah,
what
no, this is
if you what did I do to you? I was like, holy shit.
If you were to talk it seriously, this is quite a disturbing household. Yeah. But it's all right, because it's all in fun.
Yeah, but also possibly autobiographical minus the vampire.
Well, yeah, there's a bit of the painted faces, isn't there?
Yeah.
And of course, don't forget a little comic interlude where a child gets possessed, thriller video style, right?
Yes.
A little bit of body popping.
Bit of body popping, yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, this is
Donnie had a word, right?
Yeah, Donnie had a word. Yeah. He wanted his sister to continue his legacy as the best body popper.
Well, it's the little girl, isn't it? Is it? So maybe Donnie was on set visiting Chris. Yeah. And what are you up to? Oh, I've just done this film called My Smash, and I'm doing. And then the little girl saw it, and she's like, "I want to do that in the film, Mr. Yen. Can I do the body popping?" Yeah.
Also, there's a bit in it. There's a bit in it where they need some dog's blood. For the I can't remember. It must be for the main vampire rather than the kid vampire, because
I can't remember. It might be the kid vampire actually, but anyway, yes, you're right.
So they need to go and kill, and it's not even a big dog.
No, it's a puppy.
It's a little puppy.
A little black puppy. Yeah.
And then they just go off with this puppy, and then emerge with this massive fucking bottle of dog's blood.
Yeah,
I'm thinking, fucking hell, did they just kill that fucking dog?
But then there's like the scene, and I like that it takes place quite a bit later. There's a little beat where we see the dog run past with a bandage around.
It's got a big bandage around.
But they make you really wait for it, because they let you think for about 5 minutes that the kids murdered a little dog.
Yeah.
They also go grasshopper hunting at one point, which made me think. Clive and I read a book that had there's a huge amount of grasshopper gambling. Right, the whole grasshopper wrestling scene in
yes,
Shanghai, right? I think.
Yeah.
Anyway,
is there some? I might have actually recognized the musical cues for a change. Was there a little bit of Dawn of the Dead?
Yeah, and there's some. This is the other one that has Mad Max in it too.
Okay. The Dawn of the Dead ones are quite well disguised because they cut it off just before it got to the bit where you can deafen it. So it goes.
Yeah.
but before the
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, you're right. Yeah.
And they blow the thing up with fireworks at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely. Because again, when this started, I was thinking, oh, this seems like a candidate for, some Blu-ray set or something. It's the forgotten Yen Clan film.
Yeah.
You never hear anyone on about Close. And now I understand why, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Not really worth talking about, is it?
No. This has no place in any box set whatsoever. This is for Yen Clan completists only.
Unless you put out something like for the very overly sensitive, for people who can't handle anything too good or exciting, we bring you the lame films box set. Guaranteed not to get you too excited about anything.
Yeah. There's one bit
people to whisper.
Yeah, exactly.
And they tell really boring stories like, I remember this day on set, I had a bacon sandwich for lunch. Or something like that.
Oh, it's like that boring priest from Father Ted is doing
yes.
Yeah. Or the one who's the one who looks like Warren Oates. No, Father, I have a very boring voice. That guy.
So there's one bit. I've fucking forgotten it now with all the Father Ted bollocks. Never mind.
I will say when Beardy kits up at the end, he's got that massive sword made of like dishes or whatever that all seem to be tied together, and he's also he's got like bandoleros like Rambo style of like fireworks and shit. I was like, that's cool.
That's the bit I forgot that I've just remembered.
Yeah, again, there's moments, isn't there? These are moments.
Yeah.
But there's so few and far between.
Oh yeah, no, it's not worth it. But I do want to tell you about this because I watched this around about the time I decided just to scour the whole internet for Jiangshi information, right? In mythology and in folklore and stuff, right? And I came across like the reason you have these coin swords, the swords made out of coins. So I worked out what a coin sword is all about.
Right.
At around about the same time as I saw this. And he pulls, and Beardy just pulls out this fucking massive fucking coin sword. And usually when you see coin swords in these films, they're like little daggers, but that big. And they're made out of normal size Chinese coins. So had you two read what the coin sword is all about?
No. And his looked like it was made out of he was an early adopter of CDs, maybe.
Yeah, they're like fucking dinner plates.
Laser discs or something.
Those are the VCDs that put Close Encounter of the Vampire on when the film was.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But anyway, so a coin sword. This is just a bit of vampire lore for us now, right? Bit of Taoist lore. So the reason that a coin sword is effective against the supernatural is all the coins have to be from the reign of a certain emperor who was considered to be the best and the most connected emperor to all the sort of deities and all the gods and all the heavens and all that. So all of those coin swords, in theory, have to have coins of that dynasty on it, which completely fucking ridicules the notion of a fucking coin that big, which obviously never existed. But I really like the absurdity of it.
Yeah. Okay,
so that's what a coin sword is.
So it's not just to have spare change handy in the shop.
Right.
No, although it probably is handy for that.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yes. If you've been carrying it around for a few years, I still haven't come across a hopping vampire.
But I do need to pay my parking. So
yeah. Or she doesn't have change and I want to buy a loaf of bread, so I'll give her the change.
Yeah. Or it's midnight, you're at the train station, there's a vending machine. Do you want a bag of Doritos or do you want to defeat vampires?
Yeah. Well,
nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, hello, Dracula.
Hello.
Oh, hello.
Hello, I'm Dracula.
Wow,
Hello.
that was
That was
something
uncanny.
to
Uncanny.
behold. That was.
That's what I'm doing there, see? That's my cloak.
Yeah,
Ah,
yeah,
Behind the cloak.
that's Bella and Plan
very
9.
plan line. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Never to return. So here we are.
no, I'm sorry, but did we get the title? Is it not Hello Dracula? I thought.
Yeah. In some territories it is, yes.
Yes. 1986, Taiwan. Right. Now, before we get into the details here, I'm gonna set forth my thesis here, and I'm wondering if either of you agree with me. So, last time we spoke, we very deliberately programmed Close Encounter of the Vampire before Hello Dracula, right? Now, Close Encounter of the Vampire is released to theaters like 2 or 3 months after Hello Dracula, right? Sorry. Close Encounter of the Vampire comes out after Hello Dracula. I posit that Close Encounter of the Vampire started production first, and Hello Dracula is a rip-off of Close Encounter of the Vampire and not the other way around. I think.
Okay.
I'm okay with that. Yeah,
that makes more sense to me than the other way around. But they're clearly drinking from the same fountain, right?
Yeah.
Because the reason I say, because I even at this point, so the people involved with Hello, we'll get to the specifics, but the people involved with Hello Dracula had worked with the Yang clan previously, and were involved with the Yang clan, and I reckon they were privy to what the next Yang clan film coming up was, and they managed to pip them to the post and get it out quicker.
Yeah. Also, sorry, I'm putting my hat in the ring here.
Yeah.
It's a much better film.
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. It just more entertaining, I'd say. Like,
yeah. No, it's better. It's better written. It's better directed. It's better choreographed. Heresy.
Right.
But
yes. Yeah, there is a bit heretical. Yes, but it is definitely more fun, at least.
Yeah,
I would say. But so that's I know technically Hello comes before, it's released first, but I really do feel quite strongly about this, because whether there's a number of different things that, and we'll get into it. So for a start, we've got this theatrical family again, right? And I think what they've done is they've conflated a couple of the characters from Close Encounter of the Vampire, because Hwan Chung-yu, who plays the again mean, gambling addicted father, is also our surrogate Beardy in this film.
Yeah.
So that's one thing.
Well, he's not really Beardy. He's not. Characters don't tend to have too many similarities.
No, but
he looks a bit like Beardy.
He does. He looks very Beardy.
Yeah,
and they're setting him up to look like he's deliberately made up to. You're right.
Coded Beardy.
He is, but not in the plot.
No. But that's what I mean. That's why I think they've taken bits and pieces from Close Encounter of the Vampire and they've made their own.
Yeah.
And I don't think it makes sense that Close Encounter would have copied Hello Dracula. I don't think that works.
No.
So that's my theory.
But you've also got to remember that Exciting Dragon and Hello Dracula are also quite closely related, and is also related to Young Clan. So,
well, no, that's my point. The director would have worked with them on Drunken Exciting Dragon 2 years previous, right?
Yeah.
And he also worked on a heroic fight with which has Yan in. Also worth mentioning, sorry, I think there's an error on Hong Kong Movie Database. For director Chiu Hung Ying, they have his next film. He also worked on Miracle Fighters, interestingly. So they have his next film after this as something called Son of the Vampire. That is this film.
That's Hello Dracula, yeah.
Yeah, it's the same film. And of course, later on, he went on to make Child of Peach.
Yes.
Which is
which stars what's her face from this, the little girl.
No.
But I just clicked on it and she's in it. Shadow Liu.
Oh, is Shadow Liu in Child of Peach?
She's in Child of Peach.
Oh, okay. All right. Because I was thinking, because from another film we're going to be talking about soon is the star of Child of Peach, right? But
yeah,
I didn't realize Shadow Liu was also in Child of Peach.
So anyway, how cool is that as well? So when you're picking your English name, right? When you are a Chinese person or Taiwanese person, how cool is it that you got to get Shadow? There's some people called Tomato.
Yeah. Right? Dump Truck. I knew a kid called Dump Truck.
Yeah. So Shadow.
Was that his BDSM name?
Safe word.
Yeah. Dump Truck. When it was all getting a bit too much.
Gets a bit confusing when you're doing scat play.
Yes.
So that's what I mean. So,
yeah.
You have to write it down.
Also, tick box, tone lowered in the first 5 minutes.
Yes, well done.
Yes. Your bingo cards. You can stamp that one right
now. Nick will be mentioning Thomas May on any minute now. He'll find some excuse. Right, plot. Well, very episodic. A bollocks once again, and about. Hang on. Does anyone want to take this away from me? Because
I'll do it. So there's kind of an itinerant traveling acrobatic family.
Yeah.
Who have got a cart but not a horse because their dad's a gambler. And their dad is also their Shivu, who does all their teaches all their acrobatic.
They've put the cart before the horse and it's out of frame.
Oh. No, you only get one for that. So anyway, so they're hanging out, doing their their kind of
forced mahjong. That's what I most remember from the beginning of the film. There, the kids are forced to play mahjong with inveterate gambler dad.
Yeah. Also, very early in the film and throughout the film, there are a lot of children's
naked boy bums. Yep.
Yes. So we can be generous and say this is a product of its time.
Yep.
Or we can be cynical and say there's another audience for this film, which is not us.
Yes. It does feel that way as we go further into the film as well. There's a lot of weird sexualization of people who shouldn't be sexualized.
But a Taiwanese 80s film wouldn't be a Taiwanese 80s film without naked children and people drinking piss and stuff like that. It's just
Well, context though.
Yeah.
There's a slightly different context to this. Anyway, that's a side note. So anyway, there's this itinerant family of acrobats who are poor.
Sorry, just to interject, Darren, do you remember the obscure VHS release of this on UK under the Jimmy Savile Presents banner? Do you remember that?
No, I'm not familiar with Jimmy Savile.
Right. No. Darren bought the Gary Glitter reissue, I think, that came out 2 years later.
Oh, that's, yeah,
Right.
the remaster. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah. Yes. Anyway, well, I'm more a Rolf Harris man than a, but
tie me kangaroo down.
Yeah. Well, it's all under the U Tree umbrella, isn't it? So,
Yes. Yeah. There we go. That's the new reissue label title. U Tree
umbrella.
Classics. Presents
Anyway,
Hello Dracula in HD, where you can see every little detail of little boys' cocks.
Yes. Anyway, this family's traveling around. They have a little break in the forest, and then a funeral director, Taoist funeral director, is transporting some Jiangshi.
Chintu, right?
Yeah. Yes. And all of a sudden, out of the bushes, a little cute little kid Jiangshi jumps out and starts fucking with the other Jiangshi who are just minding their business.
Daddy. He's looking for his
daddy. Yeah. And basically distracts all the Jiangshi, so it causes a lot of hassle. So that the Taoist has to stop at the cart, which is also like their house with bunk beds and shit. And as a game of mahjong with
fake beardy
fake beardy Shivu daddy, right? At which point the little rascals, who are the children, because this is essentially a Little Rascals, but
naked little rascals.
Yeah, naked little rascals with really fucking scary Jiangshi in. They start fucking with the Jiangshi. One of them escapes, and then some nastiness and also shenanigans ensue.
And he jumps on Beardy's shadow, right? This is where how Beardy gets a curse.
Yes,
I love this shit.
Yeah, it was the first time we've seen anything like this, I think, isn't it? In this is the jumping on the shadow thing.
It's quite effectively creepy. It's weird. It has like a vaguely Evil Dead 2 vibe, something about the way he kind of shakes while this thing is standing on a shadow.
So the first thing before we get on to more of the plot, and there's not too much of it.
No, not really.
But before we get on to this is a children's film, right? I think we can all agree that this is aimed at children. This film is scary. Yes. This and some niche adults, but this film is fucking scary. Right? Not Exorcist scary, but the level of threat introduced in this film with the two fucking nasty, scary, violent, murderous, terrifying vampires in it is a funny thing to reconcile in a Western brain. Right?
Especially when in that opening thing as well, you have that very Addams Family like theme tune as well.
Oh yes,
just a little bit of
So some shenanigans ensue. They go to a Peking opera school, or rather, they go to a Peking opera theater. Try and get a job. They fuck it up. They don't get a job.
But it's been taken over by a Japanese topless show, apparently. So they don't want their boring ass
children's acrobatic
because we got some hits now.
So they don't get the job, and then the dad falls afoul of the local corrupt police force. Gets imprisoned.
Ma Chang is the fat
cop.
Sorry, no, not Ma Chang. Ma Chang is the quite scary vampire. Sorry, it's Pang Sai, I think, is the fatty police chief.
Well, you've got to have one, right?
Well,
they fall afoul of the corrupt police force. He gets imprisoned. Meanwhile, the escaped Jiangshi from earlier on goes on a fucking rampage, and it's scary. It's like fucking fangs. It's grey. It's an unstoppable undead force. And then it just breaks into proper but it breaks into proper fucking kung fu. And the wire work, the choreography on display here is second to none. Would you believe?
Yeah, again, Chu Chung
Yeah.
and Chin Lung and Ogam Tin are doing the choreography here.
Yeah, and we're gonna. This is going to be spoilers, right? Yes. Yeah. So we need to do spoilers. So yeah. So there's this amazing fight in the jail, and it goes through a few iterations. You've got the whole standing on the shadow thing. So if a vampire or if a Jiangshi stands on your shadow, you become paralyzed. You become like a statue. He gets all noble. He like saves the police chief, and gets killed in the process.
Yes. Now this is when it gets really interesting, right? Because then the kids, who previously have also been called a bunch of small perverts, because the whole weird thing. So,
yes, there's another pair of characters we need to talk about.
Who was the Taoist, and his daughter, played by Shadow Liu, who became massive in Taiwan and Japan because of this series, really huge. And later did a Japanese-backed TV series based on this series of films. But yeah, and her job is I quite like these scenes where it's her job to like feed the hopping vampires that they have and like do medical checkups and things like that.
Yes.
But she's also like in charge of discipline as well, isn't she?
Yeah.
But she's got like this
that big hand.
Yeah, she's got like this. It's like an oversized fly swatter, but in the shape of a hand, isn't it?
But but the weird thing is, and the reason why the kids are called, and I quote, a bunch of small perverts, is because all the little boys fancy her, right? Now, and this plays weird. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's weird just because it, like, in general, little boys that age don't like girls yet, right? It's usually girls, right? So there's something a little bit weirdly projected about their going all googly-eyed over this little girl, which feels kind of a little bit strange.
Oh yeah, and then she's presented in ways that are just like there's a few moments where she's like her hair's blowing back.
Yes.
She's like,
and you're like, it's a bit mini pops, isn't it?
Mini pops is exactly. Or what's that girl that got killed from the pageant?
Oh, John
America.
Ramsey.
Yes. There are shades of that in it. Yes. Yeah. But yeah.
However, I didn't know this. Did you guys know this? That you can use feng shui to cure wife beating?
Yes, that's apparently so.
That I learned from this film. Yeah, just rearrange your chairs, and that should take care of that.
Yeah. So long as it's funny.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the bunch of small. Also, the other bit that makes me laugh as well is at some point the police chief is interrogating, and it didn't occur to me that one of the children seems to be slightly more dark skinned than the others. So he's asking them, and he goes, "Black kid, how about you?"
Yeah,
I thought that was quite amusing. But anyway, so the bunch of small perverts, because blame the children. For your gaze, right?
Yeah.
What's interesting is after the master, what I found most, because the rest of it's quite entertaining, and there's like a vampire using a skull to do temping bowling and all that.
Yes.
But the bit that's really interesting to me is when they have to undergo some sort of weird Taoist ceremony, hypnotism, and become robot dancing paper dolls.
Yep.
Yeah.
And go through this weird, trippy kind of sequence. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then things get really strange because they, again, spoilers, they end up not only fighting with this scary Jiangshi, but ripping it to pieces with their teeth.
Yes.
Yeah.
And afterwards having to be tied up and have their mouths washed out.
Yes.
Soap. Because
big syringes full
of a big vampire.
Yeah, except it's actually no, I'm not even going to go there. But
everything about that
make
scene
your own mind up.
Yeah,
everything about it, because They're all tied down and
Yeah,
kind of
they're tied
the whole
down.
thing is fucked up.
I know they're not actually, but they do seem to have like soap suds, just like bleh, like they don't look comfortable. Like, because I assume the scene took at least an hour or two to film. There's a amount of child abuse going on here. I think. But it's good because it's fine because it's all for our entertainment, and it is entertaining. So job done.
And hats off to whoever soundtracked this for choosing Jean-Michel Jarre's Oxygen Part 2 to play over the top of all the paper doll freak out.
Is it Oxygen Part 2?
Part 2.
I recognize this Jean-Michel Jarre, but is it Oxygen Part 2?
It's Part 2, yeah. Because it's on a playlist of mine on Alexa.
So the one that goes boo 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 boo, which isn't on this, is that Oxygen Part 1?
I assume.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Is that the one you usually get?
Yes, exactly. But this is it's a great piece of music. So it's quite effectively weird to play over the top of those scenes.
Also, I think this was the one. I think I spotted not Battle of the Planets. What's it called? Battle Beyond the Stars.
Oh,
at the start of this as well.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. Or heard rather than spotted. But yeah, so then you've got after this point, there's a lot of Taoist shenanigans, right? So there's a lot of the grandpa and Shadow doing lots of Taoist shit with compasses and miniature houses and various
exploding hand grenade eggs and so on.
Thunderbolt eggs.
Yeah.
Thunderbolt eggs, yes.
Fucking great. I hope that exists. I hope that's a thing.
I'm sure it does. Yeah.
Just you did a little bit of red powder and a bit of blue powder. It looked like.
You know what? I would put £5 new with both of you that actually is a thing in Chinese mythology.
You don't need to do that now. You can just give £5 to a Kickstarter campaign to make Thunderbolt eggs, and you can have your own one.
I'll make my own at home. Anyway. But then it gets a little bit fucking weird, right? And but in my opinion, good at the same time, because then the dad that's dead rises,
yes, he becomes a menace, doesn't he?
As an extra scary Jiangshi, with massive fangs, and but also like a conscious Jiangshi, so not like just a mindless kind of monster just destroying everything. He's going for the people that pissed him off in life.
Yeah, he kills the theater owner, right? And hangs his body outside the theater.
Yeah. And then it kind of culminates in Shadow and Grandad, Taoist Grandad, and the Little Rascals versus Dad.
Except that it's not, because it's more often the kids versus the grandpa trying to fight the dad because they're still believing his loss, right? So there's a lot of that actually.
Yeah, because they swap the Thunderbolt eggs for regular eggs, right? And things.
Yeah. But then again, spoilers. But then at the end, they do the same with this one as they did with the other one and just fucking tear it apart.
Yes,
and it's their dad.
They tear the sheath off the top of his head and expose his brain, which is quite nice.
Yeah.
No, it's this one's good. I think the mix here, as kind of maybe bewildering as it might be for certain modern audiences of a certain demographic, this definitely it works in the way that The Close Encounter of the Vampire didn't.
Yeah.
And it is fun until Daddy takes his T-bird away, isn't it? All the way through, I would say.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it a great deal.
I think it's fun until Daddy sells his horse for gambling money.
There we go. Yes, that's the obscure Beach Boys B-side. Yes.
But I mean, I know this is a kind of this podcast is an entity of its own for Halloween, but the choreography in this film, the Kung Fu choreography and wire work specifically, is fucking top notch.
Yeah, well, it's top notch in it, but it's also, it doesn't kind of it doesn't really show itself. It doesn't distract from everything else, does it? It's all
No.
very much of a piece.
Oh, it is, yeah.
So
But-
as weird as some of the elements in or troubles, it's I don't know, somehow it all felt like, I don't know, I didn't, some of these ostensibly children's films from Taiwan from this period, they're like a little bit, I mean, they're all massively entertaining, but I don't know if they're something that I would present to a child now, or but actually I would kind of be all right with, if I had a friend with children, I would say, yeah, hello Dracula, they love it.
I would show this to an 8 to 12-year-old child.
Mm-hmm.
This is part of the grooming process.
Do you like what you see? Do you like what you see, little nephew?
Yeah. If you get scared, just hold on to this.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah,
Sweet.
but no,
I'll say to try to bring this back to
more it goes, the safer you'll be.
Yes, I'll try to bring this back to something. There was one scene that I quite liked where he put these like sheets of charcoal paper up and traced all the kids, cut them out into cardboard things, put them outside, put little yellow papers on them, and then it was like an early detection system. If the shadow of these things got stepped on, the kid inside would somehow be stricken, and they would know.
Well, because there's like one bit where the dad JYANGSHI strangles one of the cardboard cutouts, and the kid's just going,
yes. Yeah. But I thought that was a cool, weird.
Yeah.
No,
All right.
It's a good one. This is definitely it's definitely one of the highlights thus far, I would say, and it's one of the better post Mr. Vampire ones. In fact, as we're about to get to next, I would say it's better than the official first.
Absolutely. Well, and this is the other question, right? This is the other question. So, what was made first? Do we know what?
Yes, no.
What's Mr. Vampire 2?
No. Regardless of which way around these two are, hello or close, they both predate Mr. Vampire 2. So Mr. Vampire 2 is
definitely the child JYANGSHI.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get to. Yeah.
The vampire kid definitely comes from
Taiwan.
The success of, I think, not so much Close Encounter of the Vampire, but definitely because Hello Dracula was a proper hit.
Yeah.
And that's why there's vampire kids in the next film we're going to talk about. I'm almost sure of it.
Okay, yeah, that was the question I felt we needed to answer. Yeah. What are we on next?
No, go on. You can finish the thought. I couldn't edit it out.
Yeah. What I was asking was, what are we on next?
Oh, well, I'm going to tell you, Darren.
See, that was a good segue, wasn't it?
It was good. It's
there we are. That was a nice introduction.
It's Mr. Vampire 2, JYANGSHI Boogaloo. Yeah, so the return of Ricky Lau, Barry Wong, and Sammo Hung and his action team, and Boho Films. So we're back.
And Moon Lee.
Oh well, and Lam Ching Ying, and So although Moon Lee has a slightly distressing haircut in this.
Yeah, it's modern. It's modern day. It was the 80s. Yeah.
So we kick off. We kick off with some treasure hunters
who seem to be mildly mentally disabled, possibly.
Don't know about that.
Okay.
Really.
Okay.
So led by Chung Fat. Yeah, it's Billy Lau, and Billy Lau is there's obviously something wrong with Billy Lau. And
I think that's who I'm talking about. Yeah.
Further on, no, I think you're talking about the other one who
I don't think Billy Lau is disabled.
No, but I think
mildly.
I think you're thinking of Carly, right? He's the one who sucks on the frog.
Oh yeah. I honestly both of them come off as not terribly sharp.
Well, Carly as well actually looks not dissimilar to a young Lam Ching Ying.
I've always associated with kind of Mang Hoi or Taibo or someone. It's like I've always found he looks similar to those two, but yeah.
Anyway, there's these monks in a cave, and they're
Fucking
looking
hell.
for treasure.
You did
Oh,
that,
yeah,
Nick.
bingo cards
You
there.
did that. You did that. That's
Oh
your
yeah,
fault.
I gave him that setup. I'm well aware.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now we're only waiting for the Thomas Mannion reference somewhere.
Yeah,
Where
and we've got
it's a bingo. Right, so they're in a cave looking for treasure, eating frogs, where one of them is sucking on a frog.
Yeah.
And they happen across a nuclear family of vampires. You got the mother, father, little kid.
Yeah. Pauline Wong is the mother.
Yes.
Yeah.
Chung King Chung as the dad, and Ho King Wah as the little boy.
Yeah.
And yeah, so they think there's money in them, so they basically excavate.
But wait, one of the two psychics wants to molest the corpse, because there's a great piece of dialogue where one of them says, "He's trying to molest that corpse," and then his response is that any of your business?"
Well, you know, nanny state, yeah.
Right.
So,
right, Nick, you're not doing well with Clive's setups.
No.
Today.
Also, yeah. Speaking of which, actually, also somebody chloroforms a budgie right near the beginning of this film as well.
There's an unusual amount of chloroform in this film.
Clive, that was another setup for you if you wanted to bite on that.
I don't want to, you know, I don't want to be too obvious. I'm
Right.
slightly worried about sending up too many red flags.
Yeah, apparently YouTube's got this code of conduct or something, I think.
I feel like, Clive, you have more red flags than China does.
Good.
But
Yes. You're working on your stand-up material.
I am getting my tight five. We talked about this before.
Yeah,
I'm my tight five ready.
I feel left out. I don't have a routine.
Oh, okay.
Doesn't matter.
Together, Clive.
Listen, it doesn't matter. No one's going to beat my jokes. My jokes are fucking legendary.
That's one word for them. Yes. Anyway, hang on now. Right. So, what happens next?
Yeah. So they stop the kid in the car, and the kid is in the back seat, and his yellow paper blows off.
Yeah. Basically, they all escape. Right. That's. I think that's basically what we want to know. They end up escaping, and Billy Laug is bitten as well. Right. So he ends up going to this apothecary. Yes. Yeah. Lam Ching Ying, who is also a bit of a Taoist whiz, it turns out. Although he doesn't do that much in terms of magic so much in this one, right?
No, is he supposed to be related to our previous? Like, is the monobrow that he's stuck with in all of these films? Like, is that because he's the same character or part of the same family?
There's a zinger at the end of this we're going to get to, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it gets very meta, doesn't it? Because
that's true.
There's a policeman wondering later on, like, what's going on, and Lam Ching Ying's explicit advices. Right, you need to watch and get to be kind.
Well, no,
deadly, and I'm Mr. Vampire.
Mr. Vampire. No, it's better than that. So the dialogue. Apologies for correcting you, but the dialogue goes: the policeman, Lam Ching Ying's trying to get into a building where there's vampire stuff happening, and the policeman stops him and says, "Stop! I don't know who you are. What are your credentials?" He says, "Well, my name's Lam Ching Ying. I was in Dead and the Deadly, Encounter of the Spooky Kind."
Right.
Yeah, I work for Mr. Samo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Anyway.
So the kid also befriends some other kids in some kind of
it's Drew Barrymore, right?
Drew Barrymore, E.T.
Yes, but E.T. The only bit in this sequence that actually made me laugh out loud, which is actually quite funny, is when the little hopping vampire goes down a slide while still standing. Particularly, that was quite funny. That was a good gag. To be fair,
I've got to say, the little montage that's part of was very cute.
Yes,
it's very well done. So if you like your cute little hopping vampires, this is good shit. Although having said that, I think every film that we're discussing in this particular section that we're recording at the moment all have cute little kid hopping vampires, and they're actually all quite cute.
Yes.
Although my favorite is the next film we're going to discuss.
So meanwhile, so this takes a little while to get, and then once it starts to get going, so Lam Ching-ying also is sniffing about Lam Ching-ying's daughter Moon Lee, some sort of photojournalist or something. And the thing I've always remembered about this film is how it's kind of crippled, because there's some good stuff in it, especially towards the back end, but it is crippled by, it starts to get cooking, and then they introduce this fucking retardation gas thing that makes everything go into acted out slow-mo.
Slow motion, yeah. It's that seems like ether or something like that. It's kind of what.
Right.
So obviously,
okay.
Ricky Lau had seen barbed wire dolls the night before, and he was like, I have got this great idea.
That's a good reference. And I'm not sure whoever's going to watch this is going to get that.
But the thing is, the scene in barbed wire dolls is so much more entertaining and more funny and shorter, because this thing goes on forever. Like, just drags it out.
So that sequence, I'd seen before. It pissed me off before.
Yeah.
Right. And I thought, fuck it. I'm on my PC. I'm going to switch it to 2x speed.
Okay. See how it plays. Yeah.
Yeah. And it still pissed me off because it was still too fucking slow. Yeah. And it's like at 2x speed, I'm sure it lasted 15 minutes.
It's about 10 minutes, and it's a gag stretch to breaking point, isn't it? It's like, it's, it's Joe Pasquale's squeaky voice is restrained compared to the it's just because wait, and I don't think the film ever recovers from it.
No.
And it's kind of a shame, because fuck, actually, from my point of view, fuck the rest of the plot, because it does the basic thing from the recapture these vampires, right? But what I was going to say is, the shame about it is, so I reckon they've got a bigger budget for this film, right? And the first one was such a massive hit. And signs, there's like there's one really good set piece, I think, with a traffic jam.
Oh, with the big leaps.
The parents are jumping from car to car.
I don't know why, but I remember watching Superman 2 in the cinema in Wicklow when I was like 8 years old. And it was like Zod and walking the street and all the cars being blown back. And somehow it conjured up the same childhood feeling of wonder.
I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that might be a definite influence on that. But it's epic. That bit is epic. And you realize, that's what they were trying to do with this film. They were trying to level it up. They were trying to go even more, because we mentioned how the first one was a little bit a kind of step in kind of Amblin entertainment direction, right? And I think, and with the whole, this is their attempt at competing on that level. And that set piece with the cars, and then later on there's some good action. Plus as well, because it's Sammo's action team, it's all people needlessly crashing into furniture, and it looks fucking painful. And of course, it's great and all that. So then, it's this time I pitied the film a little bit more. Like, originally it just pissed me off like that, but watching it this time with I was like, fuck it. They really shot themselves in the foot. But they've broken the back of it across this stupid slow-mo section.
Well, it's not just that though. I mean, the film is reasonably inconsistent for the rest of the running time as well, because there's like the ending, again, spoilers, but again, the ending, it's left really fucking unclear what's happening to these vampires that they've killed, saved. Because like the kid gets taken away.
Yeah, to be forcibly reincarnated.
Yeah.
That's basically that's the dialogue.
Yeah.
It made him go with the White family, I think.
Fucking hell. Well, an alive family, presumably. That would be the equivalent, surely.
Well, actually, the very, very, very ending is particularly odd. And it's not just like a gag ending that's just like, It actually, what? Like,
Yeah.
it kind of changes the tone of the film entirely, because it's not funny to be a gag addict. It's just, huh? So yeah. It's just it seems like such a, because you imagine if you could that one sequence, the traffic jam, if the whole film was at that level, this would have been the, you know, Evil Dead 2 to the Evil Dead. This would have been the Aliens to the Alien. This would have been the proper big fucking Mr. Vampire 2, or the sequel the original deserved.
Yeah.
But it's not.
But it's but also it's too cute as well.
Yes,
right.
Too much of the kids.
I'm into the little montage with the kids doing the ET thing, taking the vamp out in public. I'm all for that. I'm all for the, you know, kind of, oh well, you know, holding hands thing is quite lovely and cute, you know, because the little girl holds hands with the vampire and then they have to say goodbye and they repeat the scene and all that stuff. But there's just too much of it.
Yeah.
No.
And it's entirely, it's not really woven into the fabric of the film at all. It's that montage, or that's it. Yeah. So yeah, it
is good to know though, if you're looking out for illegal immigrants, that apparently that's what they look like.
Actually, that is a good point, because 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 the whole conceit of the film is the little children saw something on the news about, and I can't, some snake something.
Yeah, little snake
people.
Like a child
These would have been people across the board, the snake heads, right? The snake heads, the children.
That's it. Yeah.
Heads, yeah.
So there's something there. They're saying something there about immigration in Hong Kong, and
it's Vietnamese boat people era as well, isn't it? So it's
exactly. Yeah. But they're not.
They don't really give a shit. It's lip service.
No, exactly. Yeah.
And it gets really tonally confusing at near the end when you know the little vampire's trying to save his parents from who are basically our nominal heroes of the film, right? And then he starts to get muddy as to who am I supposed to be rooting for in those final few scenes, and then they melt the two parents basically into like blobs of fat bubbles on the floor in front of their child, and then take him away and make a crack about how they're gonna he'll need to be. Oh, he'll be fine. We're just gonna go make sure he reincarnates properly.
Yeah,
I do wonder how Hong Kong films of this era, actually the 80s and 90s, I wonder if many of them are now being re-edited for their HD reintroduction in mainland China, because to take all the making fun of mainland people out of them. I'm wondering if there's snips here or there, because you know there's very few Hong Kong films of this era that don't have some sort of at the extent. Mind you, they can keep all the AIDS jokes in. I'm sure they're still, because this has one. Hong Kong film from 1986, so of course it's got an AIDS gag.
Yes, the needle whole thing.
Yeah. And I'm sure the Blu-ray. Sure, Eureka's working on a Blu-ray of Don't Give a Damn with Yun Biao and Sammo.
Yeah, that might
and blackface
may prove problematic. But mainland China, I'm sure it's all right, actually. You can still play that.
Oh, it's fine, yeah. They probably just think they're Uyghurs or something, you know.
Yes,
sorry.
They just have to add a voiceover at the end. They were sent to a camp and their organs were used, so it's fine.
No, they were re-educated.
Yes, sorry. That's right.
Yeah. It's just their organs were somehow misplaced. Anyway.
In transit.
Yes,
these organs literally fell out the back of a lorry.
So do you think there's a version of Only Fools and Horses? In mainland China,
with Del Shua and Rod New. Stick an organ in your pocket. Fetch the Uyghur from the back.
Jesus Christ.
If you want a fresh one and you don't ask questions.
So yes,
Only
so
wieners
yeah,
and
when we
horses.
all get to the Golden Gates, there will be the inevitable asterisk next to our name.
Yes, yes. So there we go. Only wieners and horses on the next episode.
Mhm.
So let's just all agree
Yes.
that in our last will and testament,
Mm.
all podcasts are deleted
Yes.
Yes.
for fear of incriminating our descendants.
Yes.
Yes.
Luckily, none of us have children.
Thankfully, we all chose not to reproduce, so that won't be a big issue.
No, that's fine. Yeah. Right. Next up, we have First Vampire in China. 1986. My heart nearly sank when I looked at this on HKMDB because I thought that Wang Ying was Wang Jing.
Ah.
But it's not. It's all right. Actually, quite an interesting person.
Yeah.
Because he's predominantly a writer rather than a director.
Yeah.
So he wrote films like The Lute and The Sword. And
well, he also
I can't read.
He also wrote the original story for the first Mr. Vampire. We talked about that. Yeah.
That's the bit I couldn't read. Sorry.
Right.
From my notes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And he wrote Wheels on. No, sorry. So the story credit for this one, Johnny Lee Quing Kai, he wrote for like Wheels on Meals. And he wrote Return of the Demon, which is the other Wong Ying film with Charlie that they made after it, and then later went on to direct. Well, oddly enough, a film we watched, Darren, he was executive director on Ghostly Bus. He wrote, and he started his directorial career with A Day Without Policeman.
Yes.
Simon,
yeah. So, as you mentioned, Clive, Charlie Cho is just being fucking Charlie Cho.
Yeah, although he's not quite, he's not yet Mr. Category 3, is he, at this point?
No.
But he's pretty much acted the same.
Yeah, pretty much. And some luminaries in this. I'm not going to go through the whole cast, but I'm going to pick out some interesting names in this that we'll get into.
Right. I think you're clearly going to say To Siu Ming, right?
To Siu Ming. Well, everyone likes To Siu Ming.
Yeah.
You know, he's like he is at least, you know, he's tied for number 2 or 3 on my favorite cross-eyed kung fu personalities.
It's either him or Yu Wan, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's
some film I remember, there might even be more than one, but I remember watching a film once and they're both in it. And it's like fucking when people went bananas about De Niro and Pacino in Heat. Now this is the real deal.
No, hang on. We reviewed something for a Khafuz.
With both of them.
There's 3 of them.
Yeah, there's another one, but I'm blanking on the other one's name.
I'm thinking it might be Chin Yet San who's doing a cross-eyed bit.
Could be.
Yeah, it might be. Anyway, moving on.
The Elvis of that. Well, either one of them's like Jerry Lee, and the other one's Elvis of cross-eyed buffoon.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. So there's some talent in this, right? So you've got Charlie Cho, Anthony Tang Ho Guan, Sekin is doing a bit of Lam Cheng Ying.
Yeah.
And some fucking shapes, I add.
Yes. I didn't recognize
looking like Sam Elliott.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
With his mustache at first, I didn't.
No, I didn't recognize it. No, I didn't clock that. No, if I hadn't read that, I would assume he's just some sort of general actor somewhere. But no, that's Sekin. To Siu Ming we mentioned. Wang Jiangli.
Yeah.
Is in there for 5 minutes.
But
Wang Lingwei.
5 minutes of Wang Jiangli goes a long way.
Not in this film, I would argue.
I mean, I know they don't utilize him, but still, it's. I mean,
Oh yeah, it's still
and this scary
still,
telekinetic vampire is,
yeah, it's Wang Zhangli
that. Yeah.
being a fucking ghost
Mhm.
with his incredibly mean face. Yes. Wang Lingwei is in there doing a reasonable role. And Cho Yan is in there somewhere as well, although I didn't actually catch
He's a
him.
villager, isn't he?
Yeah, I couldn't quite. He's just an old dude somewhere, isn't he?
Well, it's interesting. We'll get to this at the end when we sum up. But it's interesting. The same year as this, he's in the Seventh Curse as well.
Yeah.
Which is just to me, because when we get to it, First Vampire in China, for various reasons, it's got all the things that it should have been the Seventh Curse level of good, but it's not for many reasons. But it's that kind of thing. I can imagine if all these elements in it were done properly.
They're not quite lining up. You're right. Yeah.
If they were done properly, it could have been a Seventh Curse level.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. However, I think that there's enough in there to make it a load of fun.
It's worth a watch. It's worth a watch.
Yeah. So I remember getting this probably in the early 2000s on probably one of my first, and I'm sure, well, if anyone watches this, I'm sure people remember dddhouse.com, which was a Hong Kong DVD distributor that had really cheap DVDs back in the early 2000s. I'm going to correct you here,
though, Darren. You actually had this earlier than that.
Oh, did I?
Or GVHS bootleg, because that's how I first watched it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, before you even watched it, I think, because is when you had that collection and you didn't have time to watch it.
Yeah.
But I did.
Oh,
I was the
okay.
From your, yeah. As a
fair dues.
borrow thing from your collection, and yeah.
Oh, well, fair play. Yeah, stand corrected. Yeah, fair play. Yeah, just although I've got the DVD as well. I'm
sure you later upgraded. Yeah. No, because
anyway.
I hadn't seen this in a anyway halfway decent version since then, because that VHS bootleg was quite pants.
Yeah. You know what? I think that film probably stayed in my collection unwatched until I got the DVD.
Right.
Because I distinctly remember the DVD cover, and I'm pretty sure that's the version I probably had the film for fucking 5 years before I watched it. Anyway, so I remember watching this the first time I watched this, thinking, vampire, jade armor, first vampire in China. It's going to be fucking crazy batshit stuff. And I remember sticking it on and being mildly entertained by it, but in general disappointed. I did, however, change my mind on rewatching it.
Yeah, because it's more chicken shit than bat shit, I think.
There's an unusual amount of chicken vampirism in this.
That's whatever that theme song is. That sounds like a military. Like that thing is fucking pure. Like I was so happy they played it over the end credits. I just sat back and was like,
yeah, I was waiting for that.
In the actually, just to point out how shitty the old quality version. So this time I was now fully aware that the vampire is encased in jade armor, which is a cool look.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because in my old review of the film, I said he was wrapped in tin foil. So that's
he is at the very end for a moment. Like when they've taken all the jade off of his armor, he does look like one of those golden baked potatoes that you can find.
Or a Richard Harris and IFD Ninja.
Or yes, that too.
Spud you like.
That's an Irish vampire, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So we should
talk about the story briefly.
Yeah, I reckon this is an excellent setup. I really like the setup.
I think so too. I think that opening 10 minutes or whatever is just like.
Well, it's not even that. It's like under 5 minutes, I think. So there's like a warlord era warlord as played by Xing Fuyon, who So this is confusing. So Xing Fuyon takes a medicine made from powdered rhino horn, dies, is wrapped in gold-laced jade. Which means when a earthquake, so you briefly see him. He's all something to do with lunar activity as well.
Yeah, stellar alignment.
Yeah, like lightning bolts and shit.
Yeah,
as
and he
well,
comes
isn't
to
it?
life,
Yeah.
and then you briefly see the scene where there's like a small army.
Yeah, there was a brief vampire apocalypse. There was a full end of the world scenario.
And then there's an earthquake.
Thank goodness.
They all perish, except he's still alive because
of his...
And that jade armor zombie.
It is awesome.
Is cool as fuck, right?
It's like a weird mix of it almost has the feeling of like Kamen Rider meets this more ancient kind of look.
Yeah.
But what's confusing is it's Xing Fuyon in that first scene who's wrapped in jade, right? And there's this whole jade vampire thing, which is a cool creation. But later on in the film, Xing Fuyon turns up as a totally different hopping vampire who does the laser skipping rope sequence, which is silly but quite memorable and fun.
Yeah. So, by the way, viewers, there's a hopping vampire doing a laser skipping rope in this.
Yes.
It should be better.
Yes. But you know, how many
it's a very good idea because it plays to the strengths of the Jiangshi that they hop. And that's what you do with
a bit of double Dutch goes along.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
But it's just one of. I mean, there's the thing with this film. That first part is cool as fuck, right? And and then beyond after that, it does get into a mess, but enough of a mess with enough cool action and sense to be. But from then on, that's when the film ceases making any sense to me. I mean, it doesn't matter because it's basically here's some hopping vampires and some other vampires, and Johnny Wang Lung Wei is the ghost of a general. And it doesn't matter, and there's a zombie cockerel, and it's all bad, right? And the good guys have to defeat it, and Charlie Cho and To Soo Ming are stupid, and
look,
Sekin and Robert Mack are on the side of good, and so that's all you need to know.
Yeah, but hang on.
Yeah.
There's a zombie cockerel.
Yes.
Yep. Who looks great. He looks like he's come out of one of those.
Fucking brilliant. That turns human beings into other zombie cockerels, but in their human bodies, but with yellow eyes.
Yes.
And who like rice a lot.
And they like rice, and they can't and the sunrise. And the way you
that was very funny. And to be fair, Charlie Cho and To Soo Ming swinging for the fences in that scene.
They're fucking going bananas with it. Yeah. So, on the face of it, right, there's a lot to recommend in this film. Right, if you like your zombie cockerels, right, this is the film for you. Right? And it's weird, right? There's some good laser beam whips and webs. It's like Sekin makes like a spider web laser beam thing at the end. But you're right. I think
going bow bow jingle bells, which for some reason is the only thing I remembered 20 years later.
Yeah. So there's a lot of silliness in it, but arguably, I think it's a little bit too silly, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It has its lulls, but it's worth sticking with. But what I was going to say is, in terms of I was trying to genuinely follow the story, and it's really confusing if you. What I mean is, it's not because the shape of it. Also, sorry, before I carry on, Chong Suk Yin, who plays Susan.
Yeah.
The chick who hangs out with Charlie Cho. And
the photographer
is the smoking in her little jungle shorts, and she's not in anything else. I was really disappointed to discover that. I was hoping to go down the Chong Suk Yin rabbit hole, not a rabbit hole. But
you should be so lucky.
But she's not in anything else. It's sad. Anyway, but I was trying to so Charlie Cho is like the mayor. He's the new. It seems to be set in the 1920s or 1930s, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The car he's driving,
Mhm.
and he's like the new mayor of this. And there's this. I'm assuming this hillside kind of graveyard with coffin sticking, which is actually quite a cool location. Really cool kind of. I assume it's some kind of set, but it's very elaborate for a set.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming this was created during the pre-credit earthquake, right? But what I couldn't figure out is, so the Taoist character is explaining, oh, everyone who's buried in this hillside will come back to life because they prove it by burying the cockerel.
Yeah,
but because
but the coffins have to fall out and touch the ground.
and they have to reinter. But then if they reinter, they turn into zombies. So I couldn't understand why they're reinterring them in the first place.
There's some overcomplicated lore in this that doesn't need to be there.
No, and then at the same time they discover that there's this jade, so of course they want to steal. But then beyond that, there's a whole Sai Gua Pao turns up as the guy who, because of course there always has to be someone selling them the wrong thing.
Yes,
it's the wrong dogs.
The dodgy Oji-san with his like dog blood varieties, right?
I love the fact that there's enough of a market for dog's blood that.
Just a roadside stand, like a lemonade stand that kids would run, but he's just
and he has a variety of dogs.
This beautiful sad little black puppy there that is
because he needs brunette dog's blood, but he's got blonde dog's blood. That's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
By the way, that piece of music, there's a piece of library music, right, that plays a lot in this. Where is that? Why am I knowing? Is it used in? Is it Monty Python and the Holy Grail that uses it? There's like a very bombastic kind of thing.
Oh, you know what? I might have got confused with the previous film we.
Is that Battle Beyond the Stars?
I think that might be Battle Beyond the Stars. Hang on,
okay.
Check my notes. Hang on.
Because I couldn't figure out. I know it really well from something. And I
think maybe I got confused. I think that possibly could be Battle Beyond the Stars.
But it's a very. I'm guessing it's a piece of library music, maybe that's used in several things, but it's very, very.
Right, it's common, isn't it? Yeah, but
So, but it's definitely worth staying with. And then the ending is great. You got this with bamboo and dynamite.
Oh, there's one fucking guy who does the Mad Max like Fury Road pole dance thing to like swing in.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of great stuff in that last sequence, and of course it also is quite a funny. I do quite like the kind of wah ending of this one because it involves inhaling ashes, right?
Yeah.
Which
yes.
No, I agree with you, Darren. So this is what I was saying about the sound. I was thinking, if you imagine all the elements of this without the lulls, without the too much silliness, everything just slotted into place and the pacing was right, you'd be close to Seventh Curse. I mean, it doesn't have an alien rocket launcher and stuff.
No.
It would be, you can imagine it being.
Yeah, I mean,
fun.
There's something about, because there's enough madness in this to make this great, right? There's enough weird shit going on. There's a fucking ghost that takes people in a fucking photograph, and it's fucking Wang Lung Wei. Seconds doing shapes and making magic spider webs out of laser beams, and there's a really fucking cool...
wearing shorts.
Yes. There's a really cool fucking. Also, sorry, just as an aside, right at the start of this, Charlie Cho is invulnerable to vampires.
Oh,
because he's got 3 flames on him.
Yes, that whole thing went way over my head. Don't understand a bit.
I've got no fucking clue what that's on.
There's even, the Wang Jiangli vampire, because that's how he's dispatched, right? He makes a mistake of touching him and he bursts, flies backwards and is disintegrated.
And then all of a sudden it stops working when he becomes a cockerel.
Yeah,
and they're raising ghosts at the beginning by using urns of like ashes and stuff, which is all very a case of Charles Dexter Ward, H.P. Lovecraft. But I would say this: I would say if you enjoy this.
Here we go.
I can't. I'm not doing it.
Yeah,
No.
if
Go on,
that's your
Darren. You
idea
know
of
you
a
want
good
to.
time- if that's your idea
I
of a good
don't. I
time,
don't
it's-
actually know if I can cross my eyes. I've never tried before. No, I can't do it. I don't know how to cross my eyes. I'll do the noises.
I think our YouTube video has finally hit rock bottom.
I did that under
I
duress.
bet we can excavate a few floors deeper.
So anyway, so obviously me and Darren are doing this.
Hang on. This is worse than the previous video we did about Rolf Harris and Gary Glitter and the
Hang on.
naked children.
No, that's all fine. No, what I was going to say, so we're both approaching this from the kind of initial disappointment, lowered bar, blah, blah, blah. So, but this was a fresh watch for Nick, for young Peter.
I had tons of fun.
So, how did young Nick there get on with this on his first viewing then?
Well, it was lots of fun. Yeah, it was.
I mean, lots of fun for everyone in the big yellow teapot.
That's
the
one. Yeah. Yeah. No, it was a nice mix of silly and you know, it had its genuine moments of like that opening scene. I mean, if the only thing is maybe the film is let down by the fact that opening scene promises maybe
this is true
a better film than is actually delivered. It's not the apocalyptic, you know, thing it might have been, but a zombie chicken goes a long way with me.
Yes, it's one of your epitaphs, isn't it?
Yeah.
There aren't many of them. Is it centipede horror that's got a zombie chicken in a dream sequence?
It might be.
Because we used to have a flatmate called Lewis, and we used to take the piss out of him that he looked like a zombie chicken.
Yes, it is centipede horror. Aren't they flaming chickens as well at some point? Don't they get
something
run
like
around
that.
on setting on fire?
Yeah, something like
that.
But I just remember it's like a spinning.
Yeah, I think that's now on Blu-ray.
Yeah,
because I think that's like, if I remember correctly, that was the first of those insect-eating horrors of that period that we got to see, I think.
Yes, it was. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Anyway, I've detracted from Nick's summary.
No, it was lots of fun.
Yeah. I mean, it's really nice seeing Sekin do a fucking Taoist priest and some ships.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You know, because at one point he like kicks a window open from behind his head. Just by doing like a kick, like a form kind of kick. And I thought that was just fucking class.
Yeah, I mean, Sekin is someone I definitely need to know more about, because he's getting towards his twilight years here. I know him from Story of a Discharged Prisoner, that film that was remade as A Better Tomorrow, and of course, to all of us, he's basically Han from Enter the Dragon.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously this man was like just a major star mostly in that period, a little bit before stuff that is now widely available. So a lot of stuff maybe he was in isn't necessarily, well, some of it maybe isn't even extant, but it's not easily to see, or it's not. But
no,
Steve Sekin needs to be invested. I always, this might be a slightly unfair, and it's just a little bit. It's a little bit of the way he looks, the stuff, but he's a bit of a Henry Silver type, isn't he?
Yeah.
But with more range, I think, than just cigar store Indian, right?
Right.
Jack Palance, actually, I'm thinking maybe might be a better second.
Jack Palance is
really
good.
Something there. But yeah, no, First Vampire Diaries is fun, but temper your expectations.
Yes.
And if anyone out there does know of some more Chong Suk-yin credits, please drop us a line. Because we want to know all
I
about
should also say there's a lot of dialogue that you know, this amulet is used to suppress the cock. He would act like a cock, be blind at night. They are cock poisoned. And then my favorite is be careful, you'll get cock disease and corns.
Yeah, you see,
don't understand what you're saying.
No, you're mistaken us. Your mind's in the gut. You're mistaken us for silly people.
Oh,
we are serious film critics.
Yes, I'm sorry. I watched Carry On Emmanuel recently, and it did. There was a softening of the brain tissue that was involved.
There's a parachute scene in Carry On Emmanuel.
Yes, there is.
That it's all I remember from Carry On Emmanuel. But I mean, fucking hell. Kenneth Williams is in porn.
I tell you what it is.
That's it.
I tell you what it is. That skydiving scene is Carry On Emmanuel is sillier than the deliberately self-parodic skydiving scene in Top Secret. Do you remember the one in Top Secret? Because there's a gang in Top Secret where they keep making love in front of a log fire.
Oh, that's right.
And they jump out of a plane and they embrace, and then there's a log fire on a parachute.
That's a good gag. That is a good gag.
But Carry On Emmanuel somehow is even sillier than that without trying.
Fucking stupid. Yeah.
No, we were scarred recently, me and Nick, by that. So. Right.
So anyway, Vampire in China done. Interesting stuff. It's well worth watching, right? If you haven't seen it, you're not going to be disappointed. You're not going to regret watching it,
right?
But for us, there's something not quite.
It's not quite. It could have been Seventh Curse adjacent, but it's just Anyway,
yes. So we're on to Kung Fu Wonderchild.
What?
Kung Fu Wonderchild?
No, I don't think so. No. I think that's you watched a different film.
But did I? Okay, what should I have watched, Clive?
Well, we watched Kung Fu Wonderchild.
I do see that is what it says on
the Amazon print as well. Yeah.
Okay. Kung Fu that's some sort of giant ape related martial art.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I assume we're gonna get to Mighty Peking Man at some point on
Shaw,
Shaw Scope.
Yeah.
So we're gonna I know. So we're gonna get into Kung Fu apes.
Okay, good. Good to know.
I am predicting there'll be a whole season slew worth of not
in Shaw Scope
apes. Yes.
Okay.
Shaolin Invincibles.
Shaolin Invincibles is what I'm thinking of. Yes.
Top of the list.
Yes. Yes, but I'm sure we find some more as well.
There's lots more.
Yeah.
Sorry, carry on.
No, I was just going to say. So obviously you're both intimately familiar with this film already, right? Taiwanese. But I mean, I wasn't. This is this whole kind of thing of Taiwanese children's films.
Yes.
They said
when a middle-aged Irishman is groomed, this is what it looks like.
Okay. Is kind of I've seen one of the Momotaro adaptations, one of the Peach ones.
Child of Peach, yeah.
Yeah. Which I did recognize our lead. I was like, hang on, I know this. I know I've seen this girl playing a boy before.
Lin Xiao.
Those sideburns are fucking weird though.
They are quite.
Sorry, I'm just saying. Carry on.
They're well glued. They're well glued.
It's like you're like, oh, I've never kind of fancied Javin Jenkins before. Sorry, very niche reference there. Maybe someone got it.
No one's gonna get that. Yeah. Carry on, Nick. Carry on.
But so our director is what? So Nam Lee.
Lee So Nam.
Lee So Nam. Back with thanks to IMDb.
Yeah, I did that. Yeah. I did that on the last one. Yeah.
So I guess I'm just gonna ask you. So when did you first like see this?
Formative period.
Okay.
Not me actually. I remember Darren had it, but I didn't see it until not that amazingly long ago actually. Because it's not in. I didn't review it in my first book. I think it's going to be in the second volume.
Okay.
So within the past 10 years actually for me.
Because I was wondering, this print is
Oh, I
really
never saw it looking this
spectacular.
No.
And so I was wondering about like what were the conditions that you saw it under.
Oh, no idea this good looking.
No, I had a really shit VHS that I think I traded with someone in America. So not only was it shit VHS, it was also NTSC on a UK NTSC, and it was, you know, there was lines down it.
Yeah.
NTSC, never the same color twice.
Yeah. But despite the quality issues, despite not being able to read the subs properly, yeah, I was in love with this film from about 5 minutes in.
Yeah,
but I don't want to color your review.
No, yeah.
But a lot happens in 5 minutes.
It does, yes. Even just the credits and that whatever that pop song is that's playing over them. It just
I like that song.
It just tells you right away this is something else.
Yes.
And as it kind of started to unfurl, I couldn't figure out, like, it reminded me of all these different things, like almost those Sid and Marty Krofft, like you know, HR Puffin stuff kind of things from like Saturday mornings, and then Japanese kind of equivalent things as well, that kind of you know, yeah, I don't know, it was
Harry the Ninja Boy, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Or maybe even some of the Guy Goes kind of with the kind of the weird mashup of where you've got the poop jokes and the kind of you know, like this, like it's just.
This is Taiwan, so it's piss jokes.
Well, yes. Yeah. Oh, no, that our Jiangshi falls face down into a huge pile of shit.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, about 5 minutes in. Yeah.
Yes, and yeah, I guess we should say the one caveat is if you're coming to this for, you know, hot vampire cock action, go to the previous film we just talked about. This is pretty skimpy on hopping vampires. Yeah,
it is. Yeah. Well, no, it's not, because there's different sorts of vampires in it, isn't there?
But no, specifically hopping vampires, there's not that, but just enough to squeak in on this.
Yeah. Well, no, but you've got the Jiangshi at the start, but then you've got like the guardian of all the urns.
Right, but what the fuck? So he looks like a kappa. Do you know what?
I thought.
Yeah, I know what a kappa is. Yeah. He's got the groove in his head, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I'm calling him a Jiangshi. But
yeah, okay.
Really? He doesn't hop though.
Well, I think he's
green.
Yeah, I know. I think he's close enough.
I tell you what, speaking of that, the makeup, so Jiangshi don't always have this. The one at the one who falls in the cow path, the one who has children who both aid and prevent him from doing what he's at the same time, which is kind of confusing. He's got this lumpy zombie face makeup stuff. And he looks like something from like those Indian horror films the Ramsey brothers were making.
Yeah.
He looks more like that than anything else in Hopping.
Yeah. And it's weird, actually, because you would say, well, that's probably just budgetary constraints, right?
Right.
But this film's probably got not a bad budget, because there's a lot of special effects in this.
There is. There's a fucking Disney-like anime dragon.
That's what's strange, because there's moments like that which are genuinely kind of surprising and breathtaking and really well done. And then there's that fucking bouncy castle great skull thing in the background.
That's fucking awful, isn't it?
You're just like, what is that?
It's like it's like the fairs come to town.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like there's a fucking fair in fucking Hicksville nowhere, you know, and they haven't, you know, And it hasn't been
the bumper
renovated.
cars are just behind that big fucking
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly. Yeah.
I don't know what you two are on about. I found it transportative.
Yeah, Nick, carry on. We want to hear everything from you on Kung Fu Wonderchild.
All right. Okay, so I'll just go through my notes as quick as I can here. So, begins with old man, who's not played by one, attacked by bolts of fabric, immediately gets in a crazy magic battle with a red-bearded evil priest. His spirit is then
Lucifer Lee from
Yes.
Ninja Final Duel. Actually, there's a lot of Ninja Final Duel connections, right?
A load of them, yeah.
Yeah.
And he looks awesome. His whole red tinted,
there's a lot of colourful people in this film as well. There's a lot of people who. There's even a multicolored. Do you remember the multicolored dog?
Dog, yes.
Like
it's all
what is all that about?
Primary hues.
I forgot about that. Yeah, it's like one of those dogs on Star Trek that they turned into an alien.
Yes, exactly.
Total non sequitur as well. That scene.
Yeah. So anyway, his spirit, him and his daughter's spirits are pulled into this kind of Janus skull thing that this sorcerer has. Then we get our hopping vampire. He's like a widower dad. And then the kids, these vampire kids meet the other daughter of the old man who's being captured, and she's in search of her dad, right?
Yukari Oshima.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
So it's interesting as well. So she's not quite yet Hong Kong action star, although I think she had already been in Sammo Hung's Millionaire Express.
Yeah, she was in something, wasn't she?
Well,
yeah.
But her big credit. So when she was still back in Japan, she was So she was part of Sonny Chiba's Japan action team.
Okay.
Yeah, and she was on the tokusatsu series Cho Denshi Bioman. She was a regular. She was one of the villains, Farah Cat. She was on that for about 50 episodes or something. And then it seems goes to, oddly ends up in Sammo Hung's Millionaire's Express, then does this, and then kind of gets big Hong Kong stardom as an action star. I've always been a big fan of Oshima Yukari. She's cool. Interesting filmography, and then later on goes off and be in all those weird Philip Coffey Filipino films that exist in 2 versions, and maybe we need to do the Oshima cast at some point. You got plenty of spare time, right?
Oh yeah.
And then I think we cut to our what is this? A religious school,
It's like a Taoist training school, isn't it?
Taoist training school, right?
Sorry, I'm going to stop you there, right?
Yeah.
Because I want to see this. This is almost like a trap that we've set for Nick, right? Because I want to see how long it takes Nick to run out of fucking things to describe in this film.
Well, I've got pages and pages.
Yeah. So, carry on.
Yeah, I mean it's I mean, what can I say? It's obviously it's full of incident, right?
Yes, it's true.
I mean, shall I just continue?
Yeah. Go for
it.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, and chime in, please, whenever you like. So we've got who plays our sub master with the ridiculous fright wig. It looks a bit like Begbie.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure who that is.
I couldn't work him out. Yeah.
The one he
looks a bit like William Yen, but William Yen is listed as someone else in the cast.
Yes, it's not William Yen, I don't think.
No, but he looks a bit like William Yen.
Another Ninja Final Duel.
But William Yen is just in there, like some incidental character somewhere.
So this is the character who's introduced by coming out in the morning and pissing in the courtyard in front of his students.
Yes, and then shouts at them something that I'm sure I've heard you say, Clive. I am your master. I will urinate wherever I want.
Yeah, that's how we roll.
So and then there's a whole Taoist preschool dance choreography rap scene, which is astonishing.
Yes.
The whole thing with cucumbers and the little cucumber gag.
Sorry, I forgot to mention as well the multicolored dog scene
Yes.
ends with wall breaking, someone turning to the camera and saying, "I hate this job,"
Yes.
which made me think of he might as well have said, "Next time I race pigs, by golly." It's very much delivered in that.
It was, yeah, it was.
Actually, sorry, quick aside, because I don't know, because I didn't know. To my great shame, I didn't get. So when I say next time I raise pigs, by golly, now I know, Darren, what you're thinking of. You're thinking of
Ren and Stimpy.
Right. Do you know what that's actually a reference to?
No.
I didn't figure this out until years later.
No, I don't.
That's a character. That's a line of dialogue from John Ford's The Searchers.
No way, is it?
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
The whole time we just thought that was original to Ren and Stimpy.
Great.
Isn't it said in like a Dutch accent or something?
Yeah, that's the character in the Searchers is like a Dutch settler or something. He goes, "Next time I raise pigs, by golly." That's why he says it. Like it's a. So there you go.
All right.
John Kay or whoever did that, a lot more film literate than us, obviously.
Well, famously, like he's just doing Peter Lorre.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Mexican Peter Lorre, basically.
Anyway, we haven't got time for asides with this one.
Sorry,
this is
like
a lot to discuss.
There's a lot to unpack here. So yeah, then girl boy, right? Momotaro, whoever she is, she works at the school. Like what's going on? So her grandpa or whatever, he also works there.
Jack Long.
Sorry, can I interject? Jack Long as Lam Ching Ying is the fucking epitome of a missed opportunity in Taiwan cinema.
Yeah.
Unless there's something we don't know.
Yeah, that's true. And of course, Jack Long, always worth mentioning, of course, because he is one of the stars of the film that kickstarted the Khfu's podcast, Ninja Hunter.
Yeah.
Which is, again, another Robert Ty, Ninja Final Duel, Alexander Laurie connection.
Yeah. But he's also one of my favourite, actors full stop, as far as Eastern cinema goes. And I have a theory about Jack Long that I have developed while I was watching this. So I think, unlike most other Taiwan, Hong Kong film stars, I think Jack Long brings his own wig to his films. Because that wig, because Jack Long does two things. If it's in the mid to late 70s, he's like a normal dude. If it's past about 77, 78, then he's in that exact wig all of the time.
Well, it's a good wig, so maybe he's paying it off.
Well, that's the thing, yeah.
Getting his money's worth out of the wig.
But, he's in a lot of Joseph Kho joints, right? And there is, Bolo famously wears a fucking mop on his head as a wig in that, 36 Deadly Strikes, so, whatever.
It's a vicious circle is what it is, see? Because he keeps having to do more films
to pay off the wig.
Yeah.
It's the best wig in Taiwan cinema.
And if he hadn't bought it in the first place, he could have retired, but he's...
Well, that's it, yeah.
The wig keeps pulling him back in, right?
It's that fucking Kho. Joseph Kho is a motherfucker. He's, he just keeps him down. He's probably, to be fair, Jack Long is probably on the game as well.
Well, that's where he got his moniker, Jack Long, right?
Yes, been back here a long time.
You just measure it up. How much Jack Long would you like, sir?
Got one of those extendable, those fold out rulers.
Jesus.
Right, Nick.
Yeah,
Keep talking
carry on.
about the film
Yes,
because
yes.
there's far too much in this film for us.
Yeah,
to be
stop
fucking-
interrupting us, Nick. Get on with it.
Yes, sorry about
come
that.
on.
Yeah. Anyway, can't remember why, but she gets in trouble and she's gonna have her hands and feet cut off. But that doesn't happen.
For spying, because
Oh,
she seems to have superpowers, doesn't she? She seems to be like Jack Long's taught her how to do amazing shit, and she also seems to be a natural, far much better than anyone else at the school. But she's not allowed to train because she's just the cook's
right.
son. Yeah, anyway,
Right.
Grandson. Sorry. Yeah.
Grandson. And then and that's when we get the crazy colored dog cops gag scene, and then there's a big burly guy, right?
JYANGSHI.
Right. Yeah. Who works for or he's like a
Dick
does he work?
Priest. He's Dick Priest, right? He's the other guy who works at the school, but he's a twat. That's what he's talking about, right?
Well, he's like the school bully, isn't he? So
yeah, that's what he felt like to me.
He's he's like a student. Yeah, but he's a bully. Yeah.
And so there's all of this kind of whole bit where they're trying to humiliate him, where they use a magic talisman to control the lady who works in the hat shop or whatever, and there's some bomb ogling and panty flashing stuff, knockabout kind of shit.
Yeah, not to mention the hilarious scene in which he's both broiled and then frozen in the hot tub.
Yes, we do see a lot of his ass, and again, it's one of these things where like it's this interesting. Where's this pitch? Like,
there's a lot of bare asses. There's even a bare ass being bitten as well, isn't there? At one point,
I was gonna say actually that happens in we didn't mention, but I feel like that happened in almost all, if not all four, then at least 3 out of these 4 films.
Yeah,
a scene where somebody's pants were pulled down and they were bitten on the ass.
Taiwan's an interesting place.
I really want to go to Taiwan at some point.
I've never been either. I keep meaning it's just down the road. So everyone I know who has been has really enjoyed Taiwan. So
So come on, Nick. Come on.
Yeah, sure.
Time's a wasting.
Yeah. Stop dragging your ass. Your bare ass.
Here actually this was where it was. Yeah, it says I had flying bandits, but then I realized they were the guardians, whatever they were called. They were the dudes who look like kind of like magic, all the face paint, right?
Oh yeah.
They show up and there's a fight scene with the ass biting on our kind of those. We've got these 2 hapless trainee priests, right, who are kind of our comic relief, goofy priests. There's some flying wuxia action around that part.
I feel as if you've buried the lead a little bit here. Yeah. Is we shouldn't forget that there's because this happens really early on and it comes back later as well, and it is kind of the indicative of the fun to be had here is that there's screaming souls, heads sticking out of funeral urns, which are connected by laser beams that are coming from a golden skull.
Yep.
Right.
And they're so the fear is that and including the initial old man and his daughter, like they're in there, and
who is Yukari Oshima's dad?
Yes, and their souls are going to be sucked basically off by our evil sorcerer guy, right? He sits up there on the mountainside and
lovely as well. The other daughter, I think it's Lin Yu Chi. I haven't had a chance to check out her other credit, but I might be wrong. It might, but she's lovely, whoever she is.
Yeah, and at one point, I'm gonna scroll ahead a little bit, and at one point, there's one of the bumbling student friends smash one of those urns when they go and investigate the temple, and that's just the soul just destroyed. That's just someone.
Yeah, well, they just take the lid off in the daylight. Yeah,
because they're just fucking about.
They're just fucking
around, about doing nonsense, and then it's like, that soul can't get reincarnated anymore. That's it. That's
the funny thing is,
that's oblivion.
They say, and what would you have done? What would you say if that was her parents and sister? Yeah. And then I was thinking, looking at the geography of that, I think those were the two urns.
No, you're right, because it was one of the front ones, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
and not
Yeah.
in the middle. There's one that they're either side of it. I'm pretty sure that
Yeah.
there's.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
So anyway, carry on, Nick. No, I think it's important to mention we're not going to get the chance to describe this whole film to everyone.
no.
There's so much going on in this film.
Yes.
That it's an onslaught of crazy Taiwan shit in your brain with really good kung fu and fantasy.
Yeah.
And then when you think you've had enough,
it's cartoons.
Where it turns into Rambo. In fact, they mention Rambo.
Yes, they do mention Rambo by name, yes.
And some weapons come out. Some
flamethrowers.
Yeah, and there's a big ass explosion at the. There's like a bit at the end where it goes like, well, like fair enough, and then all of a sudden, behind it, fucking hell, they have blown that set. They're not taking that twice. That's.
I mean, I think the only things I need to say is there's a scene where a dog pisses in the big guy's face.
Bringing the tone down again, Nick.
There is a scene where.
So hang on. Is that your takeaway from Kung Fu Wonderchild? Is a dog pisses in someone's face?
One of them. Girl boy is shrunk down and forced to fight a face.
Girls before swine is what it is, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It is.
There's a big shitty looking stuffed animal demon centipede that she fights in that scene as well, which is pretty awesome.
That's good. Nice little fluffy animal there.
It's to be fair, it's scarier when it's the little thing. When it's a little insecty thing, it's like, oh, what's that? But then when it comes back as a big monster, it's just it's a huge pipe cleaner. It's
but that particular scene actually, because that's a direct reference to Alien as well, isn't it? Because that's a face hugger, right? That's like one of those face huggers.
It's absolutely a face hugger. Yeah. And then also there's a great scene near the end where after like the Kappa has been like decapitated, there's like one grows out of the head of our villain.
From beyond looking.
Yeah, I was just gonna say From Beyond actually. Yeah. So it gets a bit body horror at the end, doesn't it?
Yeah. No, it's absolutely mental. I mean, that's what it is. It's just it's chock-a-block, wall-to-wall, fucking WTF.
Yeah. Every 5 minutes, there is something that you are going, I beg your pardon.
What now?
Yes. We didn't even mention, and like you said, we won't get around to anything, but I did, because this jumped out, because I think each time you watch it, a new thing. Oh, I missed that the first time. This time for me was, what the fuck now? Smoking, bleeding mushroom.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't clock that.
Yeah, well done. Beautifully, whatever the fuck, animated or however they did it.
Well, I think it's someone with some plastic and a bike pump.
Yeah, but it's very effective.
But it works. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, something else I want to mention is, again, sounding like a broken record on a few of these recordings, but the Kung Fu choreography on this by Alexander Laurie and what's his name? Li Haixing, yeah.
Was also
Lee. Yeah. Is second to none. Again.
And again, Laurie, just to bring in the whole
Robert Tai.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? The one thing that surprised me about because I'd just kind of forgotten a little bit, going back to it, it's surprising that it's the director's credit is Lee Cho-nam, because you don't necessarily think of Lee Cho-nam as you think of Lee Cho-nam as a bit more, slightly more good, but more run-of-the-mill old school kung fu. You don't necessarily think of him as doing this kind of batshit crazy stuff. I was thinking, it's going to be Wu Ko-jen or someone like that, right? But it's interesting to see Lee Cho-nam playing in these people's sandpit, because clearly they're around the same time, but I don't know if they've ever crossed over to quite this extent before.
No, you're right, actually. Yeah, actually, I mean, Robert Tai's done a Lee Cho-nam joint, hasn't he? He's choreographed.
I'm sure they've interacted, but what I mean is it seems like almost exclusively this
Yeah, I mean,
side
yeah.
of things.
So Lee Nam's always interesting,
Oh yeah,
and he always does something different.
yeah.
In that way, he's got imagination as a director, but he's never Lee Nam's never gonna do a water spider.
That's what I mean. But he
Or
did,
so
here,
you'd think,
right?
But here he did a water spider.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So that's kind of
yeah,
interesting. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah,
Again, if you're not immersed in this, it's going to seem like air splitting. But in this case, you know,
yeah. But I mean, you know, I mean, there's a fight every 10 minutes. If there's not a fight every 10 minutes, there's some weird fucking sci-fi fantasy shit going on. And everything for me, everything on the you know, on the screen is nah. And I haven't rewatched the film or really watched the film for a long for a long time, where I have just been beaming throughout. I've just been smiling throughout the whole fucking thing. And I realize that's quite a rare thing for me anyway, and as a personal as a personal sort of impression, you know, I was smiling my ass off throughout the whole watch of this, and I've fucking seen it before. So
yeah, and I'm assuming it you enjoyed the fuck out of it because you didn't know what you were getting into either, Nick. So
I had no idea. Yeah, no. But I had, but almost from the very get-go, I was like, okay, I think I have a sense maybe of what this is going to be, and then it was everything I would have hoped. It was like eating a big bag of like brightly colored candy. You know, just like just very consistently enjoyable from front to back.
in other words, highly recommended from all of us.